Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to The Two Mikes. It's Porky Quiz Day today, it's the end of the week for us here on talkRADIO. It's been a fantastic week. We're going to be talking to a horse whisperer a little bit later on to see if he can figure out what to make out of what Mike Parry's saying for himself. We've also got, of course, a whole host of other things to talk about, including snobs, including Burnley.
Why, aye?
And I'm going to give you a bit of an update on my stolen shirt scenario. You can
why,
call us,
aye,
of course.
bonny lad?
Well, I'm going to be teaching you a bit of Jordy as well.
Aye,
Yeah.
why, aye?
All right, just calm down, we're still doing the opener. 0844 499 1000. You're listening to The Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on talkRADIO.
The 21st century dream team of dialogue, debate and discourse. The Two Mikes on talkRADIO. We'll get you talking.
It is our fourth show this week, and it's the last one we're
Yep.
doing this particular week. We'll be back on TalkSport on Sunday afternoon. But a very good afternoon to you, Mr. Parry.
Very good afternoon to you, Mike, as well. The world seems to be obsessed by Will Young backing out of Strictly Come
Well, they're
Dancing.
still going on about that, are they?
I've no idea.
It's
I've
been
never
going on
watched
for
it.
days now.
Never watched the show. Have you ever watched the show?
I have watched it, yeah, because my kids a couple of years ago used to quite enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those sort of Saturday night things.
It's very much a adult woman show, isn't it?
Adult woman?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you know, like...
What do you mean,
girls
only
of
adult women?
Well, what I'm saying is, like, teenage girls, 14, 15, 16, 17, got better things to do.
Yeah.
But I think those domesticated women, for want of a better word...
Domesticated women?
Yeah, yeah.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm talking about women who settle down on a Saturday night and switch on to watch ladies spinning around in sparkly frocks.
And
with
men.
And
men.
And men, of course, yeah.
I mean,
not
couples dancing, it's not just women
Oh,
on their own.
yeah. I'm not getting separatist here between males and
Separatist.
females.
That's
no.
good.
No.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that I know for a fact...
Well, what are you normally doing at sort of 7 o'clock on a Saturday night?
Well, I
You're
could...
still in the pub, right?
No, I could I could be in the aftermath of a game.
Aftermath.
I.e., could be there, you know.
You could be personally at a game.
Could be personally at a game. On the other hand, I could be, if I've had a long day, because I sometimes... Saturday's about the only day that we sometimes get a break, like we do this Saturday, because we're on Sunday
Well, no, we
instead.
don't. We work every Saturday.
Well, we're not working this Saturday,
yeah,
are we?
not this Saturday, but we do a show every Saturday.
Well, that's
now.
not every Saturday, and if we're not working this Saturday, is it? Okay, just get it right. Normally speaking, on Saturday...
It wouldn't be described as the day that you don't actually do any work, since we do work on most Saturdays.
What I'm saying is that the...
What are you saying?
The work commitment...
Is this the most important thing you've got to talk about?
Excuse me. The work commitment is normally finalised by lunchtime Saturday.
Yeah.
So I may, because we don't work Sunday, is what I meant to say originally.
Is there much more of this?
Yeah. Well, what I meant to say originally, we don't work Sundays, so sometimes I may be in the early stages of a bladderation
All I did
mission
was
at
ask
7
you
o'clock
what you
on
did
Saturday
normally
night.
at 7 o'clock
Well,
on
I've just
Saturday
told
night.
you.
Well, why don't you watch Strictly once in a while? You're supposed to be a media commentator. You're supposed to do Porky Vision, which is, technically speaking, a television review.
I thought
the fact that you haven't watched one of the highest rated and most watched programmes in the history of television, I find, frankly, astonishing.
I thought the best winner ever, lady-wise, was Jill Halfpenny, who I thought was brilliant.
Really?
Yes, brilliant.
How do you know she was brilliant if you never watched it?
Well, I watched her because she'd been an actress.
So you have seen it then?
I watched her specifically because she'd been an actress in Coronation Street.
So you have seen it?
I watched her because I wanted to see whether she was
Well, you just say
multi-talented, and she was a great actress. She also turned out to be a good dancer, but I haven't heard a lot about her recently.
No, okay.
That's all.
Well, that's fascinating. So
Yeah.
have you got anything to say particularly about Will Young or not?
What I'd really like to know is, has the shirt saga moved on, please?
The shirt saga? Well, yes, I can reveal that this morning I was summoned to the scene of the crime,
Ooh.
which is now being called, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
By the manager, who showed me some CCTV footage
Right.
of the culprit, right? So I now know what the culprit looks like.
Well, hang
And
on,
I'm
has the
thinking-
culprit come back and brought your shirts
No,
back?
because the sense now is that he indeed has stolen them. Because the way that he's done it, it looks like somebody deliberately stole my shirts.
Sorry, did you see him come in and...
So the CCTV footage
Right,
shows
this is
him
great,
coming
yeah,
into
go
the
on.
shop, right? He's a man of about, I would say, mid to late 30s, possibly maybe 40. He's got a bit of a bald patch on his head. He's got a bit of a straggly beard, but he's otherwise reasonably well dressed. There's no sound on it, but they described him as speaking a bit like a Cockney.
Right.
You can see him talking to the woman.
Yes.
He then starts pointing at the shirts, which are hanging up. The camera's like behind the shirts. He then comes behind to look for the shirts that he says belong to his brother. Comes behind the counter, which, to be honest, I've done in the past because the old woman who works there sometimes can't see exactly where the shirts are. And I go, oh, that's them there. Yeah. But I've always got the ticket.
Yeah.
But he literally goes through all the shirts on the bottom rung, then goes through all the shirts on the top rung, and then chooses a bunch of shirts which happen to be mine.
Yes.
Pays for them and leaves. So it looks to me like he's deliberately either been looking for a size or a particular style of
I
shirt
see,
that he might like,
yeah.
or maybe a collection of
But that
rather
exercise
expensive...
must have taken about 5 minutes, yeah?
It probably took about 5 minutes,
Yeah, my goodness gracious.
And the woman apparently is in bits. I've said, look, please tell her not to worry. It's not really her fault.
So we think this was a premeditated theft of your shirts?
I think it was a premeditated theft of shirts. I don't think he went in there specifically to steal my shirts.
He went there in an attempt to steal shirts.
To steal shirts, and for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't know whether he was looking for a particular size, and that's why he was going through the various, because there's probably 20 different lots of shirts hanging up. You know.
Sure, yeah.
So it's an extraordinary situation. So the guy who showed me the CCTV says, I'm pretty sure we'll find this guy because I'm going to just be going to show this to everyone to see if they know, if they've seen him anywhere, if they know anything about him. And I said,
but you don't know he's a local, do you? He could be a passing itinerant.
They think he is a local.
Oh, I see.
That's what they seem to be thinking. But they said that as far as they're concerned, it's theft, and they don't expect him to bring him back.
No.
And they're going to inform the police.
These shirts are very hot, aren't they?
They're very, very hot.
Because, I mean, there's the CCTV evidence that they've been stolen. They're hot. So why don't we... Have you got any pictures of yourself wearing any of those shirts in the past?
Well, the difficulty is, apart from the
yellow... Because we could put those out on social networking. If you see a man wearing this shirt... immediately make a citizen's arrest.
Yeah, I mean, apart from the yellow one, which I needed for the video shoot we were doing yesterday, I'm not absolutely certain which shirts they are. All I do know is that, until I get all the other ones back from that I just put in.
Yes.
And I did say to them, by the way, the shirts you've got at the moment, don't give them to anybody else.
That's right.
I'll be back to get them on Monday. And they said, don't worry, we'll put them under lock and key. So I said, look, all I do know is that the shirts that I get pressed in this place are all expensive shirts. They're all either Ralph Lauren or Calvin Klein or something like that.
Because actually, the shirts that you don't care for, you don't bother ironing, do
No,
you?
I don't bother, no.
Because I've seen you come in here at night sometimes with the shirt so screwed
up.
It's
sometimes, I'll
just come out of the washing machine.
Yeah, I'll just wash it and hang it up, because if I'm not, because if I'm just coming into work on the radio overnight, I don't really feel the need to wear a shirt which has been crisply pressed.
Sorry, do you mean that when you're working with me, you don't feel that you need to dignify yourself in the way you do when you're working on daytime shows?
Well, it's not a question of daytime shows. It's a question of what you then do after the show. I mean, like today we've got a meeting after the show with people.
Excuse me, I don't like to sit with a guy dressed like a tramp.
Why not? What, did you want to have that right exclusively for yourself?
That's funny, do you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I don't think the audience think it's very funny.
Anyway, I'm over the shock now. Yesterday, I was quite shocked, and I was getting very irritated with you because you were making out like it was my fault.
Yes.
You can clearly see now that it was not my fault.
How?
And so I said to the guy, I said, well, how do you cover this? I said, have you got insurance or something?
How are you going to be recompensed?
Well, he said, yes, don't worry. He said, I'll take care of everything, he said. But the trouble is, as with all those types of conversations, my version of him taking care of everything is to give me 500 quid.
No, his version is £70.
Will be 70 quid.
Yeah, so say, well, £10 a shirt, it's all the shirts
are worth.
Why
are you putting an accent on?
No, because I can imagine that he'll be a man of great industry, an artisan, and a guy who doesn't want to be ripped off by a guy like you.
He's a businessman.
Demanding, how many were there? Seven shirts. 7 £100 shirts off him.
I'm not saying 7 £100 shirts.
You could wreck his business,
I'm saying 7 £80 shirts.
And what about, that's 560 quid, 7 8.
I'll take 500.
And you take 500, okay. And what about the poor lady who was in charge at the time the shirts were
Well,
stolen?
she wasn't in this morning. I think she's taken to her bed.
Her life,
Well, she's apparently in bits.
How old is she?
She's probably in late 60s.
Really?
I'd say. Yeah.
God, I mean, I love people who work until the late 60s because they're industrious.
Well, there's 3 women
stand on their own 2 feet.
There's 3 women who sort of rotate in the place, right?
Yeah.
One is probably maybe mid-40s, one's maybe mid-50s, and this is the oldest one.
Yeah.
And they're all lovely women.
The fact that the thief gave a invalid mobile telephone number says everything, doesn't it?
Well,
really?
I don't know. I mean, I've only tried ringing that once. I presume they've tried ringing it again. But yeah.
Well, hang on. When you rang it, it said this number is invalid.
This number is unavailable.
Oh, unavailable.
Which can sometimes happen if it's switched off.
It can.
I haven't tried ringing it again.
Yeah.
But I might do. I don't know.
Do you think the guy might be a sort of, like a pothead or a cokehead?
He could be.
Who doesn't actually know his own shirts?
No.
Seriously?
No. He came in saying that he was picking up his brother's shirts. Those were his words.
Well, how would he know his brother's shirts? When he went through all the, loads of shirts that were hanging there, if I had a brother, and I haven't, I don't think I'd know exactly to the 7 which his 7 shirts were.
Well, unless you said, look, I spoke to my brother, he's told me exactly which shirts, he's put in here, and there's a blue and white striped one.
You can't even remember the 7 shirts you put
in. Exactly.
You're the owner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, how I can only assume that he's either taken them for his own purposes, to wear.
Yeah.
All right, and so he was looking for the right size.
Yeah.
Or he's flogged them to some, street trader who's now currently selling them as sort of, because they're very. I mean, they look like new shirts.
Could well be.
I don't know. Very bizarre.
Very odd.
But anyway, we got more important things to talk about.
Indeed.
Coming up, we're going to be talking, of course, to Monty Roberts, who is a horse whisperer.
Yeah.
Who is a very, very interesting man.
Look at that.
He's the man who actually was the reason why they made the film The Horse Whisperer.
And I've seen a picture of him at his home in Missouri, is it?
I think it's in California.
California, and he's got his horse in the bar drinking beer.
That's right.
I like it.
I think he's going to be very interesting. He's coming up next. Monty Roberts. This is Talk Radio. This is Talk Radio. We are the two mics. The Porky Quiz is coming up a little bit later on, and it is, of course, about Christopher Columbus, a man that in your day you would have denounced as a madman for going out into the great beyond, trying to figure out whether the Earth was flat or not, and actually deciding that he was going to discover the Americas.
And now I found
that
the world is round. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
I do. It's a great
Whose song is that?
Yeah. And now I found that the world is round.
Well, I get that, but who sang it?
I think it was Manfred Mann.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
And the Earth Band.
Yeah, could be. Yeah. Good.
Could well be.
Yeah,
now, it's not very often I get to introduce somebody who is very famous for talking to horses or listening to horses or getting from horses, the kind of thing that very few people can get.
He's a horse whisperer.
The horse whisperer. He is indeed Mr. Monty Roberts. Monty, a very good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I've never been on with two mics.
Well, there you are. There's a first time for everything. Now, you've had a fascinating sort of career, really, I suppose, having been summoned to see the Queen of the United Kingdom, having had a film made about your life and running what I would regard as a very kind of unusually successful business.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm not really running a business. I'm running an obsession and a mission to leave this world better for horses and for people too.
I mean, that's a fantastic ambition to have there, Monty. When did you first discover that you could communicate with horses in a way that few other people can? And when did you decide to put this gift into practice to the benefit of everybody?
Yeah, that's the point, exactly. And it was 1942 when the first wild horse communicated with me.
Oh, yeah.
And as a child of 7, I didn't really know what was going on, obviously, and I'm still learning. But it's incredible how these flight animals can educate us. And education is the key to leaving it good for the next generation. And they're tying the health of people to their mental outlook so much closer today than they ever have. And here we use 6,000 years to beat these poor animals into submission, using violence, with the whip being the number one selling piece of equipment, when in actual fact that was right upside down on its head.
Totally agree. At 7, Monty, just to try and dwell on this point, how did you realise you were communicating with the horse? Was it through the eyes? Did you see in the eyes that the horse was telling you things? Was it something that, you and the horse were thinking generically together? How did it work?
Yeah, I don't believe it was anything transcendental like that. I believe sincerely that my watching the Mustangs in the wild caused me to see their gestures, and then they would respond to those gestures one to the other. And I saw those same gestures with the mountain lion and the wolf, and I realized that as a predator, that's what we humans are, that we could use gestures to cause the horse to react or respond, just like signing for the deaf.
I see. So you picked up on body language, in fact.
Exactly, and it's a silent language of gestures, and the horses will respond to it. And with heart rate monitors on, we now know scientifically that I'm right, that they do get more relaxed when we are non-aggressive or non-violent. And it's fantastic for rehabilitation of military people. It's an incredible thing for the domestic abuse centers of the world and raising of children.
And as far as the benefits, Monty, go for people who are, recovering from something, whether it's post-traumatic stress or whatever it is, I mean, how does that manifest itself? Are they just made calmer? I mean, can the horses kind of empathise with how they're feeling?
Well, if you specify, like the military people, for instance, when they're made into an army, they are trained to not trust. They don't trust anything. When you go to war, you can't have a machine that trusts something. So they wash the troopers of trust. And the flight animal has to have trust in order to respond to you. So if you take the military returnee with post-traumatic stress with a horse and you cause that person to cause response from the horse and trust from the horse, then they learn that they can trust too. And suddenly they realize they can go back into civilian life and trust their boss and their wife and their children where they couldn't before. And we're running about 86% positive consequences in 3 days' time working with horses and people. And this tour that I'm doing is extremely couched in that theory that we want people that are not just interested in horses and not just cowboys and cowgirls, for instance, but in fact people that are interested in getting their minds right for their family, getting the education right for their children, and turning this thing around where we decide now that violence is not the answer.
Well, it never has been, in my view, Monty, and you're absolutely right. Monty, can I ask you this? I know you're not materialistic. I know you wouldn't wish to in any way abuse your talent and your ability to interpret what horses are thinking and feeling, but has anybody ever asked you to stand in the middle of the parade ground at a race meeting? You know, you have some very, very famous racecourses over there in Kentucky, and then tell you which of the horses going round the parade ring are looking better and are up for the race that day?
Oh, they ask me that all the time. And consequences of that are such that I am not a gambler. I don't bet on horses. I'm not against it, and it's our industry. But in fact, what I'm interested in is sending that horse out there that enjoys doing his job. And he may not be the fastest horse in the race, but if he enjoys doing his job, then he can at least return with his full potential earned. And that's what you're looking for. So the relaxed horse is more apt to win than the horse that's all stirred up out there and jumping up and down and you think he's an athlete. But in fact, the one that is calm is the one that generally does the job better.
Okay. Now, I've seen some photographs from Lucy Sewell, a photographer I think you worked with a little while ago on a book that she was doing, and there's a great picture that she sent me of you with a Mustang in your bar at your ranch. I mean, is that something that you just did for the picture, or does he come in quite regularly?
No, he does not come in regularly, and I did it for the picture, but here's the key to that. This horse has been seen by about 500 million people, and it was the BBC that put it all together with a lady called Lorraine Hegasy from the BBC.
Oh, yes.
And they allowed a team to come over, and I caused this horse to accept his first saddle and first rider in the wild. With about 6 miles to the nearest fence when you were in the center of the property. So it was 42,000 acres or so. And he's in the wild, and he has no other horses, and I got join up with him. That's causing him to want to be with me instead of away from me in 24 hours, and had a rider on his back in 48. So this horse will, in fact, do anything I ask him to do because he trusts me, completely trusts me. So Lucy is there doing this film project, photographic project, and she said, "Oh yeah, so could you get him to go in your bar?" And he had never been in my bar, and I said, "Certainly I can. If I walk through the door and I ask him to, he'll walk through the door too." "Oh, show me." So I walked in and he followed me in. Now I've had him in schools, I've had him in auditoriums, I've had him up on the stage. He believes in me. And I've never struck him. I've never demanded from him in any aggressive way. And so he does what I ask him to do. And that's the horse that will reach his full potential. And it's the child that will reach their full potential when they trust you too.
Monty, if a horse could speak, what would it say in its ability to describe its relationship with human beings?
Yeah, they would say things based upon how they reacted to the human being they were looking at. And most human beings they're frightened of because we don't react in a positive way. If you try to stick food in their mouth, it's not a good trophy because a blade of grass has never run from a horse. So they don't stalk it or track it down. So food isn't the reward. What they want from you is calm. They want no violence. They want you to be at one with yourself before you can be at two with them. And it's absolutely palpable. I can show it to you. It works every time. And I want the biggest audience as possible. Remember that I'm 81 years old, and I can read a calendar, and I know that very well that I can't do this forever. I have to leave it to the next generation.
Yeah.
So I want as many people as I can to see me, to listen to me, and there is no economic itinerary here. I will not take anything in the box with me apart from some hair clipped off of some of my favorite horses and a halter or two that go in there with me from horses that I loved very much.
Yeah.
That's my life now.
Well,
so you're in Preston on Saturday, Gloucester on the following Friday. Then he's going to come to Guildford, which is not far from you.
Down in Surrey.
Stockbroker
Belt, yes.
We're doing England top to bottom this time.
Excellent.
And this is the same lady that has done England for me for 23 years now. And stability is the name of our game, and it is absolutely essential that each of us trust one another completely if we're going to pass this message along.
It's a very good message.
That we get science on our side, really true science on our side, to prove these things. We have some junk science going around that say that things are not so nice as I say they are, but in fact they are. And it's our obligation to leave it to the next generation that we can be at one partners with these flight animals, and we can be the same partner with other human beings.
It's a very noble act. Listen, Monty, fantastic to talk to you. Tell people where they can get tickets for your show if you want to point them to your website.
Yeah, the website is intelligenthorsemanship.co.uk.
Okay,
all
brilliant.
Sort of running together there, intelligenthorsemanship.co.uk. And there is a phone number. It's 01488-71300 if indeed you want to do it by telephone, but most people are doing it online these days.
Great. Well, listen, thank you very much indeed, Monty.
Monty, thank you.
That is, of course, the horse whisperer, Monty Roberts, who's doing a tour of Britain where you can see him in action talking to horses and listening to them.
Yeah. Roy Rogers used to tour Britain with Hi-Ho Silver.
Roy Rogers is a fictional character.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was.
No, he wasn't.
Roy Rogers is a fictional character.
No, he wasn't, honestly.
He was a TV star, wasn't he?
No, it was the cowboy who used to tour Britain with his horse.
I've no idea.
It wasn't Geronimo, was it? He was a Native American.
No, I don't think it was Geronimo. But we'll come back to that because right now it's time for some news headlines with Victoria Ball. This is Talk Radio. We are the two mics. That was Monty Roberts, the horse whisperer. Fascinating stuff, eh?
That's right. And Roy Rogers, by the way, is a real cowboy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we're looking him up now.
Oh, are you going to get him on the show?
No, of course I'm not getting him on the show.
He's still alive?
No, you idiot.
What do you mean, idiot?
He died, but he came from the West, the Wild West and all that. He came to this... Oh, no, I tell you it was. Could it have been... Oh, you know the guy with the beard?
The guy with the beard?
Yeah.
Blackbeard?
No. This guy looked like Custer, except it definitely wasn't Custer because Custer died at Custer's last stand.
It certainly wasn't him, no.
Wounded
Knee.
Knee.
He didn't go around touring Britain after Custer's last stand.
No, but he looked really like him. And I'm sure in the 20s he came to this country and he had a circus, and it was a Buffalo Bill. Was it Buffalo Bill?
Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill's Wild West Circus.
I don't think so.
I think it was, honestly.
Well, that would have been somebody pretending to be Buffalo Bill.
It wouldn't.
But anyway, the real Buffalo Bill.
Anyway, no, I want to get it right. We're going to find everything out, okay?
Well, I've got a couple of tweets here. One from BMW says, the horse whisperer probably wishes he was talking to a horse rather than Mike Parry.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it,
Davey says, I think I might not be alone in thinking whenever Porky is being nice, he is surely up to no good.
That's not very nice either. Do you know what I've always wondered? I've always wondered this. Ever since time immemorial, people have seen a horse and they've jumped on its back and, ridden off on the horse.
Yeah.
And when you see some of these, great sort of Western movies, from years ago, some of the Native Americans, the Sioux or the Apache, they would literally just grab a horse's mane and leap on it and ride away holding the mane. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, they were that sort of good at horsemanship.
Yeah, because they control the horse with their legs.
Yeah, exactly I think. Now, what I was going to say is, have you ever thought, because I've lay in bed some nights and thought about this, I've thought...
Really?
Yeah, in what...
For how long?
Well, it's one
like
of
hours on end?
No, it's one of the things I've never had an answer to.
Staring at the ceiling?
Sometimes, yes. And what I've thought is this. What sort of weight on a human being's shoulder would be equivalent to the weight of a man, an average man, size 5'10", weighing probably 14 stone or something like that, on the back of a horse.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about that?
No, never have. Why would you think about that?
Well, because what I'm saying
one of the
is...
reasons jockeys are usually quite small is because that makes them lighter.
Of course.
And so, therefore, the horse can go faster.
Absolutely.
But if you're not talking about a racehorse, and you're just talking about a horse that was generally carrying people around, like Poldark's horse, for example.
Yes, that's right,
who hasn't got much of a mention this week, so I just like to throw that in.
Yeah, that's right.
I presume if the horse was in any kind of pain or was unable to bear the burden of the human, you wouldn't do it.
Well, I totally agree with that, but what I'm trying to work out is, supposing we had to carry something around on our shoulders, I'm trying
a bag of coal.
Would it be if it was a bag of coal, we would not be able to run, would we?
No, I don't think so.
So I'm saying the maximum.
Well, maybe you could make the analogy with, say, for example, when I had small children, toddlers, you put them on your shoulders and you walk around with them.
And you say...
once they get to be about 5, that starts to become a bit troublesome.
That's very good. You say, G up Neddy, don't you? G up Neddy!
No, that's not what I say.
Yeah, you do, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I did that once.
Did
you?
I did it once with my daughter, and we were in
my niece.
a place called Tarragona.
Oh, yes.
Do you know where Tarragona is?
Tarragona sounds like it might be in Spain.
It is. It's just north of Barcelona.
There you
go. We were out one night, and as is the fashion in Spain, we were out for dinner. It was quite late.
Yes, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, something like that. Yeah. She was only 2.
Right.
And I was carrying her on my shoulders because she was tired.
Yes.
And we approached this bar, myself and her mother, with her on my shoulders.
Right.
Having had dinner, we were going to just stop.
Bash your head on the entrance door, did you?
All these people were waving at me as I was coming into the bar.
Yes.
And I was thinking, very friendly here, aren't they? Really friendly. But of course, what they were doing was trying to warn me that I was about to smash her head into the top of the door.
And did you?
Yes.
Oh, my God. That's terrible.
It was awful.
Could explain a lot about your relationship with your daughter.
Yeah, well, it's finally worked out rather well. Now, speaking of mothers and daughters, I've got to read out a message here from Julia, who's a big fan of ours, who is of Julia and Ian fame, who are coming to our Liverpool show, I think, on November the 4th. Because her daughter's just had her tonsils and adenoids out.
Oh, dear.
This is her daughter Lola, who's previously actually drawn pictures and sent them in to you.
Has she?
But you always failed to acknowledge them because you don't care.
Of course I do.
Her name is Lola.
Well, and how old's Lola?
I think she's about 8.
Well, Lola, aged 8, just had your tonsils and adenoids out. I hope you get well very, very soon, my dear.
Yeah.
Full recovery, and remember that you're better off without your tonsils and adenoids than you were with them.
Really? Okay.
Do you have your tonsils out?
Julie says she was so brave in hospital. I'm very proud of her. So there we are. No, I didn't. Funnily enough, I used to get very bad tonsillitis as a child.
Yeah.
And at one point they wanted to take my tonsils out, but my mother wouldn't let them.
Why?
Because she didn't want me going under the knife.
Oh, I see.
And they've never really bothered me that much since.
I think I had my tonsils and adenoids out.
Really?
And it raises the question of...
Doesn't that mean that you're more susceptible to sort of disease and
I don't know.
Because your tonsils are supposed to protect you from various spores, as you were talking about yesterday, going inside your body,
I
down
don't
your
know
throat.
There are certain parts of your body you don't need, like your appendix you don't need.
Yeah, you don't really need your appendix.
And you don't
people have
need
said,
your
though, haven't
spleen,
they?
believe it or not.
Well, people have said that you can, at some point in the future, expect people to be born without their appendix.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure if that's true.
As we all evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Another one from BMW says, a talking horse would make a better sidekick than Mike Parry.
Hey, that's a bit harsh,
And Martin
isn't it?
says, this horse whisperer bloke talks more than Parry. He's the only guest who's managed to stop him talking.
Well, it's not quite that. I thought he was quite a fascinating man.
I think so too. And here's one from Stephen. How about this? Typical Porky,
Yeah.
trying to make a couple of quid from the horse whisperer. He did everything but ask for a tip at Cheltenham.
Well, that's right, I did. But I mean, the thing is, he would be in great demand. You imagine the parade ring, right?
Yeah.
And many, many times I've been asked to go in the parade ring and judge the best turned out horse that day. Yeah, because...
Not the last time we were at Cheltenham, you weren't. Last time we were at Cheltenham, you were asked to leave the area where you had gone to have a picture taken. Do you remember?
No.
That was on our way out.
No.
I'm surprised you don't remember.
No, I don't.
Well, do you remember there was the parade ring, right? And
yes.
the problem was there was an area where we wanted to take a picture of you with the horses behind you.
Oh, yeah.
But unfortunately, it was about 5 deep with people.
Oh, I see.
So there was a little barrier. And I said, "What do you nip under this barrier? Because there's nobody there."
Yeah, why not?
And so you were standing there. But unfortunately, what we didn't realise was it was the place for...
restricted area.
Well, it was the place for disabled viewers
to watch.
Oh, I see,
right, okay, yeah.
And so they were basically shooing you away.
Well, that was rather unkind of me, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was.
No, what I was about to say there.
The parade ring.
The parade ring. I'm often asked to go in and judge the best turned out horse, and the grooms who prepare the horses.
How can you judge them though?
Well, to be honest, you don't have to be a great sort of assessor of bloodstock. You're literally looking
for who looks best.
Yeah, the way the grooms have plaited their tail, plaited their mane, the way that they've cut the it's not fur on a horse, is it? The
hair.
The hair on the horse. You
Horse
know what
hair,
I mean?
they call it, don't
Horse hair, that's right. And they put it in all sorts of different patterns, and the way the bridle has been sort of dressed up a bit. Oh, it's fascinating to see how they look, yeah.
Okay. All
yeah,
right. Have you ever ridden a horse?
I've never been on the back of a horse.
Have you not?
No.
Well, see, that's another thing you've missed out on in life.
Why?
You say you've done everything in life that you've wanted to do. You should have ridden a horse by this age.
But to be honest, I've never had the ambition to ride a horse. I've never thought about it.
But it's a very exhilarating feeling.
My brother-in-law he had a horse for years.
Did he?
You know, he used to go every Sunday morning to the stables and ride the horse and all that kind of stuff. Then, of course, you get a bit older and you decide not to do it.
I think you should do it because you've got a connection with that horse charity, haven't you?
Well, yes. Jenny Seagrove, who's a friend of mine, the actress, she runs a horse sanctuary down in Surrey, and yes, I'm a regular contributor because it's a local charity.
You've never ridden one to ride a
and I
horse.
prefer. Well, you can't ride those horses anywhere. They're kind of disturbed horses.
No, I don't mean that, but I mean, I'm surprised you've never ridden a horse.
I find horses intimidating.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Scared of them?
Well, a little bit. I mean, they are big creatures and very powerful. And in fact, funny enough, talking to Monty Roberts, a horse whisperer, I think he's absolutely right. I think horses inherently are frightened of humans because we spent years, as he says, whipping them and bashing them into shape and all that kind of stuff. And therefore, I can see how aggressive they could possibly get. I always find it amazing that...
Don't you want to ask me if I've ever ridden a horse?
Have you ridden
a
horse?
You don't, do you?
Yeah, I will, yeah.
Yeah, I have, actually.
Have you?
Yeah.
And what was the experience like?
It was great.
Yeah?
Really, really good, yeah.
How many times have you ridden a horse?
I would say about half a dozen.
Half a dozen times.
Did it when I was very young. I went on a camping trip across America.
Oh, yes.
With my school when I was 15. And because
was this in Montana?
We did go to Montana, but we actually went all across the central...
That's horse territory, Montana.
Yeah, as was Wyoming. It was actually Wyoming where I rode the horse.
Wyoming, yeah.
But the problem was I was not very expert at it, but the horse took off. And we were in this kind of thing because it kept like nudging and biting the horse in front of it.
Oh,
and something spooked it, and it just galloped off.
Yeah, that's bad.
And I didn't know what to do.
Did you have?
I just kind of held on for grim life. But it was quite exhilarating.
I assume that because you were quite small, you couldn't get your feet in the stirrups or anything.
No, I was 15.
Oh, 15. Okay, yeah,
I was 15, and so but the guy who was leading us had to kind of chase after me, and pull it back, corral the horse, and it was all fine. But
not
very
surprised.
exciting.
Not surprised. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
What I was going to say is that when you see jockeys on horses, I mean, it's terrifying now that we've got cameras which can get so close up to horses, because a jockey like Frankie Dettori, I mean, it's almost like the only thing that connects him to the horse is literally his feet in the stirrups, because he's standing up most of the time while he's galloping. Yeah. And if you see how tiny the saddle is, if you get your balance on the back of a horse wrong, wow, you're out through the side door, as they say.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
Absolutely.
And
then you've got to worry about getting trampled.
Yeah. But just being on the back of a horse and staying on the back of a horse, what about when it's going round a bend and you're trying to pull it out and take the race on the outside or take it on the inside, you get crushed against the
rail.
The rail. And I have to say, I have enormous respect for those guys, because they are only little guys, unless they're national hunt jockeys, which of course are bigger.
A bit bigger.
But the smallest guys, when you meet them, they're incredibly wiry,
of them,
tough men. They really are, yeah.
Absolutely right. Well, you're being unusually kind to people today. I don't quite know what's been going on. I'll have to be investigating what you were up to last night, because you're obviously being very, very unlike yourself.
No, not at all.
This is Talk Radio. We've got loads coming up. The Porky Quiz is coming up. We're going to talk about snobbery. We're going to talk about very British problems as well, which is fascinating stuff. This is Talk Radio. We are the two mics. There will, of course, be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, and there will be the Porky Quiz coming up in the last hour of the show. Julia says thank you very much indeed for that message to Lola. You put a smile on her face.
Yes.
As she said.
Excellent. Good.
Now, I'm going to put a smile on your face, as I've got here a little booklet which has been sent in by one of our fans, Noggin, in Newcastle.
Noggin
has sent this in, and it's Jordy words and phrases, right?
Wow.
But apparently he said, and this actually came through Paul Hawksby, who said that he's so appalled by some of your pronunciations of Geordie words and phrases that he wants to kind of teach you to say them a little bit better.
Okay, go on.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions to see whether you know what they mean.
Will you ask me them in English and I'll give you them in Geordie, okay?
Okay, take hold of that.
Gan hold of that.
No, it's Checker Hadathon.
What?
Checker Hadathon, apparently.
Right, go on, let's move on.
How about this one? Do you want some broth, love?
Okay. Kenny lass. Yana your broth, lass.
Incorrect. Do you want a few broth, hinny?
Hinny, yeah, hinny, yeah, that's a word, yeah, hinny.
I do. How about this one? Doesn't apply to you. I do not earn enough.
Whoa.
I imagine that's quite a common phrase.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. So you're putting down all Jordy people as being low earners,
no, I'm not saying that. All I know is that the last time we were up there, before Whitley Bay, when we were actually in Newcastle, which, as you know, is a different part of the world.
Yes.
We were told that there was a very high level of unemployment, 9%.
Yeah, we were actually. Yeah. Well,
So
I hope it's gone down since then. Right. What was the phrase again?
I do not earn enough.
Right. I can't get the shillings in henny.
That's rubbish. I divn't earn enough.
Well, that's easy. I
divn't is I
divin,
don't, basically.
Right,
you don't know much about any of this, do you?
Go on.
How about this one? I got a blow in the face.
I got a blow in the face. Right. Whoa.
Also something it's probably heard on quite a regular basis.
Yeah. Whoa. A wee man. I got a schmack in the gobbo.
A schmack?
Yeah.
Isn't that Yiddish?
Yeah, well, sort of.
How about this? I got a bat in the face.
A bat in the face.
Right. I will question him about that matter.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna talk at a boy.
I'll born him a boot-thon. I think you should have a look at this book and learn up and sort of...
Well, it only applies to people who live in that corner of the England, the North East,
but you're
doesn't it?
saying that you used to live there. You used to have some great sort of affinity with the people there.
Yeah, impotent little yep. That's you cheeky little ape.
Really?
Yeah.
Impotent?
Why would you call somebody cheeky little ape? Anyway, there you go.
Stenner says this. Porky's allowed into the ring to pick the best mount because he can judge, in his words, horse fur.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. It's the way those wonderful... what are they called again? I got the word earlier.
What?
The grooms, the way they treat
yes.
the horses. Honestly, they look fantastic, and it really is terrific. Now then...
What do you think of Bob Dylan getting a Nobel Prize for Literature?
Well, what did he get it for? What was the piece of literary
I think it's just for his collected works. I don't think
Really?
it was for anything in particular. I'd have to check that. But you're not a big fan of Bob Dylan, are you?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think he's an absolute legend.
What's your favourite song? Maybe we can play it later.
My favourite Bob Dylan song would have to be the Times They Are Changing.
Oh, yeah?
Or Blown in the Wind.
Okay.
You know?
So you like that sort of era?
Yes, I do, actually, because I remember the Isle of Wight Festival in, I think it was 1968.
Well, did you go?
No.
Well, why do you remember it then?
Well, I was only about 10 at the time.
My father did
like
posters for that, you know.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Did he really? Oh, right, okay. And anyway, all these hippies turned up at Portsmouth.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose.
You didn't live down there in those days, though, did you?
No, of course I didn't, no. But my father was very aware of it because my father had departed from Portsmouth on D-Day, on the D-Day landing.
This was before he went to America, right?
No, this was after.
You told me he went to America as well during the war.
Well, he did. But remember,
the story's unravelling as we speak.
No, he joined the Royal Navy in 1940.
Oh, yeah.
And the D-Day landings happened in 1944. In the 4 years between, he circumnavigated the world 3 times, defending the British against the alien forces.
Indeed.
You know? But anyway, the point of my story is, my dad said, just look at these scumbags, you know.
This is what your father said?
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
it's not very nice, is it?
No, that's right.
An apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it?
Well, it was there were a load of sort of dirty, smelly hippies, you know, who were all sort of lined up in Portsmouth.
Didn't they just smell of patchouli oil?
I've no idea, really.
Right.
I've no idea. You know, I suppose they smelt of pot and all that kind of stuff, you know, cannabis and all that kind of stuff. So they're all queuing to get on the ferry, and none of them got any shoes on. And they all got flowers in their hair.
No shoes on?
No, none of them had any shoes, and they all had flowers in their hair.
A bit unwise around Portsmouth, I'd say.
Well, you know, they were getting on the ferry, I suppose, and all this kind of stuff. And they're getting off at the Isle of Wight. Now, they saw the Isle of Wight as a kind of a remote kingdom, you know what I mean? And
well, a lot of people see it that way, actually.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Including that guy who had to apologise the other week.
That's right, yeah, for
remote kingdom.
For calling them backward people and all that kind of stuff. And, of course, Bob Dylan was coming there, so they thought, you know, this is almost like the arrival of King Arthur at...
the Round Table.
No, what was the castle called? Tintagel. Yeah. It was a bit like that, really. So they all got on. So anyway, this terribly proper guy from the BBC is saying, "Well, I see you've got your 3 young children with you, and where are you from?" The guy says, "Like Salisbury, man, you know." And the guy's
American.
No. But when people take all this cannabis and pot, they talk like that.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, like Salisbury man, And so the BBC interviewer said, "Well, I see you've got your 3 young children with you." He says they look of school age to me. Why aren't they in school?
Some of those old pieces of footage are brilliant, aren't they?
Oh, brilliant.
Because the BBC guys are all dressed in shirts and ties.
That's right, shirts and ties and all this kind of stuff. Why aren't your children in school? Sorry,
right.
He choked there.
Yeah.
So, said hippie says, "Hey man," he says, "my children will get 5 years education listening to Bob Dylan. They never get in no school, okay?
All right.
Push you off, palm face," or something like that.
Doesn't sound very peace-like, does
No,
it?
it wasn't very peace-like at all. But what they're trying to claim was that because of their addled brains, they've been smoking this pot for years and all that.
That's a bit of a wide-ranging statement.
No, they were trying to claim that all the lyrics in Bob Dylan's songs were the lyrics which will save the world.
Yes.
Like the times are a-changing.
Yeah.
Like Blowing in the Wind. It was all about...
They were pretty amazing lyrics.
Oh, yeah, they were saying, like, mustn't have any more wars.
Yeah.
We must adapt to the new world, and all this kind of stuff.
How many times was the cannonball
and
all that?
That's right, and all that kind of stuff, and where have all the young men gone and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And they said, 3 Dylan songs will be better than 5 years in a school for my kids, okay, BBC man, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, they may have been right.
Well, they may have been, but it didn't do them any good, did it?
No, quite. Well, I wouldn't say it didn't do him any good. I mean, the peaceniks lasted for quite a long time, and Bob Dylan's still going. He's now just won a Nobel Prize. He'd have to say that they were probably correct, because you don't win a Nobel Prize for, nothing.
No, that's right. You know why, by the way, you're talking about the Isle of Wight Festival, you know why the Woodstock Festival was at Yasker's farm in Woodstock?
Yeah.
Because it was the nearest farm the organiser could rent to the house where Bob Dylan lived.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be the Bob Dylan Festival.
Right.
Except that they set up the whole festival and then organised the farm and all that. And then somebody said, "And when's Bob coming?"
Right.
What? This is why we're here. "Bob, has anybody asked Bob?"
Right.
No, nobody's asked Bob.
And he didn't come, right?
They didn't come. He said, "I'm not coming." So that was a bit of a waste of time, really, wasn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely. Now, coming up, we're going to be talking to a guy about very British problems and very British strange sort of things that we all suffer from.
Excellent.
And we're talking about snobbery as well, aren't we?
We are talking a bit about snobbery. Just been a new book come out which has talked about the Great British Snob, and there's a few questions in there which I'm going to throw to you, and you can throw to me, and we can work out who exactly is the British Snob. Okay.
Now, a lot of people are noticing that you are in some ways strangely peaceful of late.
Really?
And this one from Adrian, who says, "Mr. Parry seems notably at peace with the world since finding the Russian Orthodox Church and Olga." Who's Olga?
I think they mean...
They mean Sarah.
Oh, maybe they do. I don't know. I don't get into personal relationships like that.
Really?
But, no,
You've seen her this weekend?
I can't comment on my private life. It's just not right and appropriate. Do you see, somebody sent me a note today saying you said that you once flirted with Buddhism as a religion.
Yes.
But you can't ever join that because it's a dry religion. They don't drink.
Teetotal, yeah.
That's rubbish.
Is it?
It's rubbish.
Buddhists drink, do they?
I tell you what, if you and I joined the old Buddhist bladderation boys, we wouldn't go short of a drop or two.
I don't think Buddhists actually do imbibe alcohol. I think it's one of the things that they don't do.
Well, you know the guy who used to wear the pink shirt who ran the first version of TVAM?
What?
Don't you remember?
No.
The first program director of TVAM.
No, why would I remember that?
When they're trying to make it work. It was a guy...
What was it, Bill Grundy or something?
No. But he was a Buddhist and he wore pink shirts. And wearing the pink shirt, really fluorescent pink shirts, was part of his faith, part of his Buddhism.
Really?
That, you make things lighter, make people...
Well, I wear pink shirts, although I don't know whether I haven't got any now.
Yeah, whatever.
Missing.
But his name was Bruce Gingell. It's just come into my head. Bruce
okay.
Gingell. We'll look him up and you see, and it's right.
Yeah, I remember his name.
Well, I tell you now...
What's he doing now?
Well, I don't know. I think he's dead. But I'm telling you, in his days, Bruce Gingell, he used to throw the most fantastic parties to try and get people to come down and talk to people at TVAM and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he represents the Buddhist religion, does it?
Yeah, but he was a Buddhist. He was practicing Buddhist.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I do not believe he was a teetotaler. Honestly, I don't.
Oh, okay.
And he was a great guy. I used to have a lot of fun with him and all that kind of stuff. Always trying to think up new ways of bringing people onto the shows and all that kind of stuff. Which eventually, of course, was rescued by...
I can't find anybody called Bruce Gingell.
No, his name is Bruce Gingell.
Gyngell.
And I'm sure it was him. And two people saved the commercial breakfast TV station. One was him, and the other one was Greg Dyke.
I was going to say,
who introduced Roland the Rat. Yeah, that's right.
Influential Australian television executive.
There you go.
Prominent in both Australian and British television.
That's right. That's exactly what I said to you. They brought him over from Australia. He made it work there, and he made it work here.
Okay, well, I'll see whether or not there's any truth to the story you've given me.
He was a lively character, believe me.
I'm sure he was. Did you ever meet him then?
Yes, I did, yeah, because, he did the round of newspapers, and I was the big honcho at the Daily Express in those days, and doing great interviews and all that, and then he'd say, you guys must come over tomorrow and see all the stars after the show. And, all the stars were people like... I think Richard Keys was an original star,
was he?
Actually. Yeah, I'm sure he was, yeah.
Doesn't say anything about Buddhism here.
I think that's the first time I met him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Says he lived a macrobiotic diet life.
It was all that sort of thing.
It doesn't say anything about him being a Buddhist.
He was a Buddhist, believe me.
Well, I'll take your word for it. I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got loads more coming up. We're going to be talking about very British problems in the next hour. Mr. Parry's got many of those. And, of course, it's
right.
Don't think twice. It's all right.
Remember that famous, very early video of Bob Dylan where he stood in the street and he had boards
Positively
with words
Fourth
written.
Street, yeah.
What was it called?
Positively Fourth Street.
Positively Fourth Street.
Yeah.
And as the song went through the lyrics, he took one card after the other and threw them all on the floor.
And that, for its time, was a very innovative video.
And do you know who replicated it years later?
Yes, I do, but you're going to tell me before I can remember.
It was Yoko Ono in a studio with John Lennon.
I mean, quite a few other bands have done something similar.
Yeah, right.
I think Oasis might have done something similar
did they?
as well.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not absolutely sure. Now, coming up in this hour, we're going to talk to Rob Temple about some very British problems.
I like it.
Right, so what have you got to tell me about?
What have I got to tell you about?
Yeah.
Well, I've got to tell you about all sorts of things. But one thing I do want to really start discussing in some detail is this Will Young situation.
You still want to talk about Will Young?
Well, I don't understand the fascination of it all. And when he walks out and it's all, I've got to get my head together and all that, is this a new phenomenon? If you're told you're not going to win, are you allowed to abandon the competition and nobody is allowed to say you're a loser?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think people have generally thought badly of him for doing it the way that he did it.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly people have said that he should have given better reasons.
Sure.
He may have some difficulty with depression. He may have problems with his personal life.
In that case, I feel very sorry for him.
He doesn't want to reveal. But on the other hand, Kevin O'Sullivan, our good friend, actually was on Talk Radio earlier in the week. He said that if he'd been the BBC, he would have said, look, sorry, that's not a good enough excuse. We're going to have to give the people more. Because he said no matter how badly your personal life is going, no matter how terrible your problems are, that you owe the fans, because there's 12 million people watching this show.
Unbelievable.
You owe the fans some kind of explanation.
It's almost as many people as listen to us.
Yeah, almost,
yeah.
Once you count up the number of times
Absolutely.
it gets repeated.
All right, well, we've got that sorted then.
But, I mean, I don't think you should worry too much about Will Young.
I'm not going to worry too much.
Because he will no doubt be replaced by somebody who, I mean, some people have said maybe Jessica Ennis-Hill will replace him now that she's retired from international athletics.
Well, exactly, you're absolutely right.
But then I suppose she'd have to find a male partner rather than a female
Anyway,
partner.
look, we've got that sorted. I just want to get out of the way.
Well, I'm just giving you a good answer for it, and you're now dismissing it.
No, I'm appreciative of it. I'm appreciative of it. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I need to tell you about, and I meant to tell you about this actually a bit earlier in the year, is if you've got a serious health problem, you're always better to have the operation when the surgeons come back from holiday.
Right.
Because most of them, apparently, whenever they have a problem, they screw it up before they go on holiday.
Well, because they're not thinking about what they're doing.
They're kind of demob happy.
Well, how do you know when the guy's going on holiday?
Well, you don't, you see. But what I'm saying is...
so that's a kind of pointless thing to say then, isn't it?
No. Why can't you ring up and say, hello, I'm having a heart transplant tomorrow.
Yeah.
Could you please tell me when my surgeon is going on holiday?
Yeah.
Because if he's going on holiday next week, can I postpone it for 3 months, please?
Well, you can't, though, can you?
Well,
if you're having a heart transplant, I mean, normally if you're having a heart transplant, you're actually being rushed to hospital to have it done because they've got the heart coming in a helicopter.
I'm being a bit ridiculous with heart transplants. You're right. You have a heart transplant when the heart's available.
Yeah.
But if you're having, say, bypass surgery on your heart. So, this report, this is one of my medical journals, patients undergoing operations after a surgeon returns from holiday are twice as likely to survive compared with those having surgery on the eve of him going on holiday. I mean, that's a staggering statistic.
But it's a bit like those statistics that we keep seeing from the government and all the junior doctors in that dispute of theirs, where they say that, the death rates at the weekends are far higher than the death rates during the week. And if you actually examine them, it turns out that they're not based on the same figures, they're not based on the same numbers of people, the same patients, all of that.
This is. I mean, you're right about heart transplants, by the way. In fact, when I was at Harefield, there was an instance of one patient being brought in 5 separate times.
Oh, yeah.
And at the last minute, when the surgeons do the actual match between organ tissue and the body tissue of the recipient...
To find out if it is actually something that will work?
Yes.
Right. Don't they work that out before they actually bring the heart in?
You can't, because unless you've got a piece of tissue from the the donor heart, how can you tell?
Right.
Most of the time it works, but if they find a problem, it's not going to work. 5 times that happened to one patient, including twice when...
That must be awful.
Yeah, absolutely. Twice when she, because she was a teenage girl, was flown in by helicopter from her home.
Right.
She wasn't actually in the hospital at the time, you see what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And on 5 occasions it didn't work. So
And did she get one in the end, as far as you know?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. Because, you know, the identities of people...
It's bad enough. I mean, I've known people who had been going in for very minor operations.
That's right.
Which then get cancelled. But, you know, they've had to spend the previous 24 hours not eating.
Yeah, sure.
Or something like that. Or waiting around for a long time. I mean, that's bad enough.
Sure.
But if you're actually waiting for a heart
that's right,
to save your life...
Absolutely, it
how
can
awful
happen.
Must that be?
But anyway, getting back into this report, right, Sama Nashef, a cardiac surgeon, said that statistical research indicated that surgeons' holidays did absolutely affect survival rates.
Oh, yeah.
He said, what we found is that the patients operated on the day just before we went on holiday had a mortality rate that was more than double the ones operated on when we came back.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a staggering statistic.
It is.
You should be allowed to ring up the hospital and say, look, I'm having my leg taken off tomorrow or something like that. You know, can you tell me when my surgeon's going on holiday?
I suppose you're having your leg taken off doesn't matter, does it?
It does.
I mean, it's not like, I mean, it's either take your leg off or they don't.
No, but if they take it off and you bleed to death, that's quite a problem.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen, though.
Well, how do you know it's not going to happen?
Well,
what do you know about surgery?
Not very much.
Nothing.
No. Well,
No.
I've known surgeons in my life. I used to know a kidney surgeon, funnily enough.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What's that got to do with somebody
because-
taking somebody's leg off?
Well, nothing.
He wouldn't be very good at it,
No,
would he?
but I mean, he used to tell me, because I was interested in his job, because I said, your job is one that I could never do.
Yes.
One, because it requires you to be concentrating very, very hard on something.
Watching blood
for
gushing
a
out of
very
human
long period
beings,
of time.
yeah.
And also, if you weren't feeling particularly well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, like we can come to work and still not feel great. But
Oh,
if
you mean
were-
after a hard night on the slosh?
Not necessarily that.
Oh, yeah, you
But I mean,
do.
a lot of
Yes,
a
you
lot
do.
of a lot of doctors are quite heavy drinkers. But I mean, the idea that you could go in either with a hangover or just not feeling very well and have to.
But you
start
shouldn't go
cutting
into any
somebody
job
up.
with a hangover. What outrageous comparison.
What do you mean?
You should. I hope
What, you
you
don't
never
think
come in
people-
here with a hangover.
No, absolutely never happened.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Because we start at 1 o'clock. So if you did have a hangover first thing in the morning, it's gone.
Yeah.
The point is, lots of people got to work with a hangover. That's
Well, I
part
think
of
it's
British way of life.
disgraceful
If you're talking
behaviour.
about British problems, I'd say that's one of the main British problems.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just said to him, and so he used to describe his day to me.
Right.
Because he did get into a bit of trouble because one of his patients actually died. And he was on the golf course at the time.
Right.
Because he had left the patient in the care of the anaesthetist.
The
anaesthesiologist.
No, the anaesthetist.
Or the anaesthetist, yeah.
Mm.
And the anaesthetist had somehow messed up the dosage or
That
something
can
like
happen.
that. So it wasn't technically his fault.
You get the wrong combination of
Yeah.
oxygen and nitrogen.
But he got the blame for it because he was actually, it was his patient, if you know what I mean.
And he should have masterminded the treatment.
And he should have done, but he was on the golf course at the time.
yeah.
So he got run out of town.
But really?
I used to call him Dr. Death. He didn't like it.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, blimey, that's terrible. Anyway, the point of the story here is that he says there are possibly, this is again our friend Sama Nashef, the cardiac surgeon,
Oh, yeah.
because of course I'm very close to cardiac surgeons, because
Oh,
I
you
might
say.
really
Well,
need
maybe
one.
the next time you go to see Dr. Banner,
Yes.
you should ask if he's going on holiday anytime soon.
Well, he's a cardiac consultant, so he doesn't actually operate. He diagnoses,
Oh, right.
and
So he doesn't do much then.
he does. He does a hell of a lot. He diagnoses and repairs. In fact, what he sometimes does when I see him is he puts a wire into my thigh, and that wire with a camera on the end of it goes right the way up into the inner ventricle of my heart, so
That's
he
too
can
much
see what's
information
happening.
for me.
So he's anyway. He says this is Sam Anashef, the cardiac surgeon. He says there are possibly psychological reasons for this. That is about the death rates pre-holiday. One of them is being a bit de-skilled and rusty, and that probably makes you a little bit more careful, and you don't cut
you mean
corners
when you come back?
when you come back.
Oh, I see. So actually, what you should be asking is not so much when are you going on holiday,
Yeah.
but when are you coming back from
No, that's
holiday,
right,
so that then you could have it done.
Yes, but you should ask when you go on holiday and not have it done just in the week before the surgeon's gone on holiday.
Yeah.
He said the lower mortality rate after a holiday could also be because the surgeon returned feeling refreshed. Well, I mean, you know,
Really?
there's definitions of refreshment, isn't there?
There
eh?
are on this show, yeah.
Mr. Nashef, who details his research in a well-regarded book, The Naked Surgeon.
Yeah.
Well, that's about.
I don't fancy the sound of that.
Yeah, added that the success rate of surgery...
Naked surgeon refreshment.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Added that the success rate of surgery was also affected if a surgeon had just had a death on the table he said, which was very, very difficult for surgeons to cope with. Now, this takes me back to your mate.
Yeah.
So you might never recover from that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, it must be something that would be dreadful. It's a bit like if you had a terrible, road accident and somebody died as a result of it.
Yeah.
Your driving sort of history and career would be very, very
sure.
difficult.
Here, it says here, we did find that patients do a little bit less well if they're operated on within 48 hours by a surgeon who had just had a death on the table. Survival isn't affected, but complications are affected, so probably surgeons should take 2 days off. Now, excuse me, but if a policeman shoots another person, because they're going to threaten his life or something like that,
right.
I think they get 6 weeks off to get over the fact that they've killed somebody.
Do. They also then get investigated for firing a gun.
Of course they do, yeah, for releasing a firearm or something like that, or discharging a firearm, sorry.
Yes.
So, I'll tell you something, if a surgeon was, hovering over me and saying, right, Mike, be in the theatre in 4 hours, just give you the anaesthetic and all that, and don't worry about the fact that the last guy operated on yesterday
is no longer with us.
Is in the mortuary.
Yeah.
I mean, blimey, I'd say, well, don't you want to take a break?
Is there not now a method by which you can check on the surgeon who's actually operating on you to find out what his history of that sort of thing is?
Well, I
think it's part of the whole kind of freedom of information.
Well, you'd hope within the National Health Service they didn't have butcher-type surgeons who had lost people regularly on the operating table.
But if, for example, you knew of a surgeon who had a particularly high death rate, you might wish to avoid them. But anyway, who knows? Now, Adam points out Subterranean Homesick Blues was actually the Bob Dylan video with the writing on the board, so I got that wrong. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's all right.
And Martin says this, having spent nearly 4 months in hospital earlier this year, believe me, weekends are like a ghost town.
Oh, yeah, they are. When I used to be in Harefield Hospital.
By the way? We're going to talk to a guest in a minute.
Yeah, I know.
That's enough about you and your heart problems, so-called.
Do you know the surgeons on Nelson Ship, who I told you used to saw off the legs of the... Do you know that they were permanently inebriated because they had to be because of the gory work they did, and often sawed off the wrong leg?
Really?
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Don't believe a word of that. Coming up, though, we're going to talk about very British problems, of which that, I'm hoping, is not one. This is Talk Radio.
Madness, they call it madness.
This is Talk Radio. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up, including, of course, the Porky Quiz, which is on Christopher Columbus on the anniversary of one of his voyages, right?
That's right, yeah.
And so I hope you've been boning up on Mr. Columbus.
It's on the anniversary of his fourth voyage. He had 4 altogether.
Okay, well...
4 different ships.
I can't get into that because obviously that may figure in part of the questions, which I haven't seen yet because they're being put together by the independent quiz masters.
Yes.
Now, lots and lots of tweets to read out. You can tweet us, of course, at the two mics. You can text us as well. Text the word talk plus your message to 87222. Right now, though, we're going to talk about something that you and I probably have come up against from time to time.
Yes.
Very British problems, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to talk now to a man who knows an awful lot about being British and about having problems. And his name is Rob Temple. Rob, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Rob.
Thank you very much indeed. I mean, reading through what these very British problems are, you very, very quickly recognise yourself in them, don't you? And I don't mean just you. I mean, I do, and my co-host, Mr. Parry, here probably does as well. Things like when you see people on a train that you know, but you may not particularly want to talk to, you sort of hide from them.
Yeah, or change your journey completely if you see them getting on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, it's absolutely right. You don't want to talk to them. Why should you? It's embarrassing. You both don't want to be there. Somebody's got to have the initiative, haven't they? And say, look, would you mind? I'm going into the next garage. I want to read this paper, or I want to scour through my phone without being rude.
Yeah, I don't want my day and my commute ruined.
Yeah.
No, you've been compiling these for quite some time, haven't you? And you've got books out about them as well. And you can tell us about when your next one is available, if it's indeed available now. I mean, is it particularly British, this? I mean, do people in France or Germany or America not suffer from this?
Well, I do. Yeah, I do get a lot of people from all around the world who follow the account and follow the books and say this is me. This is something I can relate to, which is it's great.
Yeah. I mean, for example, if I said to you, Rob, how are you? What would you say?
I'd probably say I'm fine.
Yeah, but are you actually fine? But are you actually fine?
No, I'm suffering. I've been ill for a couple of days with a cold, but I wouldn't tell you that if we just met in the street.
Okay, now let me put two scenarios to you, please, Rob. Firstly, I'm sitting in the back room of a pub. I'm reading a newspaper. I like my own time. I like to absorb information, have a quiet pint and all that. Somebody comes up to me and says, "Hello, Mike." I say, "Hello, how are you?" "How's it going?" I said, "Fine. Do you mind if I sit down and chat with you about football for a few minutes?" And I say, "Yeah, I do, actually." And they say, "I beg your pardon." I said, "Look, I'm awfully sorry." I said, "But, I'm working. I'm actually physically working. Do you know what I'm doing?" "Well, that's very unfriendly." I said, "Well, look, I'm awfully sorry, but I really haven't got to... in fact, I don't want to chat to these people." So that's scenario one. Scenario
When you
two...
say these people, what do you mean? I mean, your fans.
Well, somebody
nice.
who comes up and says hello, who I don't particularly want to talk to, right? But I will meet and greet people as much as I possibly can. It's part of the life, existence that Mike Graham and I have. Now, Mike Graham, you see, on the other hand, Mike's a smoker. And sometimes in a break in a show, he likes to go out onto the special smoking area platform we have designated here at TalkSport. And if somebody goes out with him, wants to talk to him, he snaps at them and tells them to push off. So are these
That's
the sort?
Actually, not correct.
Are these the sort of things we're talking about?
Funnily enough, that's not true, because one of the places where you can find the most cordial conversations going on is often outside restaurants and outside bars, where smokers have to smoke outside because they tend to talk to each other in a very cordial way, actually.
Yeah, but that's not the same as the designated smoking area at TalkSport, where you always claim you need 2 or 3 minutes to get your head together and tell other people to push off. Not me, by the way, Rob, because I want to spend as least time with him as possible. But how do you interpret those two situations?
Well, I think if I was in a pub and someone came over, I don't think I could say, "Look, I don't want to talk to you." I'd probably see if I could get a pint out of them.
Yes.
Oh, really?
And then nip out to the...
Have you ever gone from, say, a gathering of people who you didn't particularly want to spend much time with and just left? Like if you're in a bar or in a restaurant. Some people have even done it, during the middle of dinner, where it's so embarrassing to actually say, "Look, I'm terribly sorry, I have to go." Yeah, that you just go.
Or you just get up and say, "I just must visit the bathroom."
Asking you a question. Mm-hmm. Go on.
Or you go and you send the text when you're 10 minutes away.
Yes, and so I was suddenly called away.
Yeah, but no, I've got no trouble just getting up and leaving.
Yeah. Really? Yeah, well, I haven't either. So what is it about the British in particular, Rob, where we feel so intimidated by the close presence of another human being in situations that make our skin crawl?
I don't know. In the book, I've said, at the beginning, I've said I don't claim to know why this happens. I kind of know the symptoms rather than the underlying cause. All I know is a lot of these problems happen to me, which is why I document them. But,
and you've got a Twitter, and you've got a Twitter account, which I presume is yours. Very British Problems, 1.3 million followers, and I've seen a couple of some great tweets on there, like in terms of British problems, meanings of maybe. Number one, no. Because we had a guest on the other day who was saying, very important. She was an American psychologist, saying how very important it is to sometimes say no to people instead of to say yes. But actually, an awful lot of people in Britain don't like to say no, do they? Even if they want to.
Well, that's one of the main reasons why these things are specific to Brits, because of the language. I mean, everything we say seems to have, the reverse meaning. So if you say, like you said earlier, if you say "I'm fine," if you put the word "honestly" in there, like honestly, I'm fine, it usually means the person's whole world has just collapsed.
Yeah, no,
exactly right. I like this one as well. Accepting a quick drink, right? And here's what happens: look at the watch. Don't actually take in what time it is. Say, "Yeah, go on then," and then wake up next to half a kebab.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about the most common one, Rob, which is the fact that when British people bump into each other in any sort of common area, shops, travel, anything like that, both people turn around and say sorry.
Yeah. And
they do all the time.
It's true.
You do. So why don't one of us turn around and say, "Watch yourself, pal"?
Yeah.
Because that's what they say in New York.
Now the trouble with that is that would lead to more conversation.
Well, it could,
more interaction.
See, my daughter, who was born in New York and lives here now, but is kind of more American than she is British, I suppose, at various times. I mean, she finds, for example, we always talk about this stuff, about personal space issues, for example, on the tube, where you'll quite often find foreign tourists don't really have any clue about how close they want, you want them to stand next to you. And she has actually, berated people for standing too close to her. But when anybody does it to me, I just kind of move away.
Yeah, just shuffle off a bit.
Yeah.
I had a guy once when I was in a pub in this scenario, and the whole pub was empty. It was early. I had to go for an early drink when there's nobody there, you know. And he came into the room, he looked around, and then he said, "Do you mind if I sit here?" And it was at the other end of my table, right? And I said, "Well, it's a free country, you can sit where you like, I'll go move over there." He said, "Oh, no, I'm sorry, you don't understand." He said, "Like you, I'm a reader, and this table's the best table for natural light." And I said, "You have the table, pal, thank you very much indeed." And I still wouldn't have gone up to somebody and said, "I want to share your table for natural light" in an empty bar, unless I was some kind of fruitcake.
What?
Well, the other one is when you're on a busy train and suddenly everyone gets off except you and the bloke you're sitting next to.
That's right. Then you have to move, don't you?
No.
Yes,
you
you do.
No, because
yes,
you
do.
Because he doesn't want to move, you don't want to move.
I do. I move
because it's too embarrassing.
No, I move.
So you both just sit there.
No, I move.
You're kind of antisocial, aren't
well,
you?
if I'm on a platform and I'm talking to somebody who's an acquaintance and the train comes in, I always push them on the shoulder, i.e., like you go in that direction.
Yeah.
Say, "Anyway, great to see you. See you again," and I walk off in the other direction, at least 2 carriages away.
This leads me to believe, Rob, that I think Mr. Parry's not actually British at all.
I am very British.
Anyway, your new book is out now, is it?
Yep, it's out. Well, it can be pre-ordered now. It comes out next
Don't be
week.
embarrassed. You can tell us where you can get it.
Oh, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Amazon, Waterstones.
Yeah, decent bookshops, yeah? Only indecent bookshops wouldn't sell your book.
And then finally, of course, the greatest question of all time. Yeah. When's a good time to ring?
Oh, never.
Yeah.
Never
Oh,
ring.
do you know what?
Nobody ever says that.
Do you know one I like, Rob? And a colleague of this has done this to me for years. He's rung up to give you some bad news, and it's, "Hello, is that you, Mike?" "Yes, it is." "Have I caught you at a bad time?" And you know then you've got trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know who that is. This is Talk Radio. Thank you very much indeed, Rob. You get his Very British Problems book, and you can also follow them on Twitter. Very British Problems. Very funny stuff. This is Talk Radio. We are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, it's Porky Quiz time, of course. Horatio says, "Man of the people, don't talk to me, I'm working." I think, unfortunately, people are now seeing through your, what can only be described as a fake friendliness.
You've got to understand.
And the next time anybody meets you now, they'll know precisely what you're doing. So when you're like tapping them on the shoulder and saying, "Oh, yeah, very nice to see you," they'll know that you're just basically scarpering off. Because you don't want to say anything else to them.
Oh, that's very unfair.
Jimmy says, "My missus doesn't listen to the two mics, but heard this week's Porky Vision and wondered if Mike Parry watches the show with the volume up." Lots of people have been very critical of your interpretation of The Fall, by the way.
I tell you what, I'm getting a little fed up with that. I mean, if they don't understand my interpretation of The Fall, I mean, I thought it was a brilliant interpretation.
Yeah,
most
of it was wrong, though.
I came up with the clue.
Well, you may be right. When in the fullness of time, your theory may be proven correct.
I came up with a clue nobody else had spotted, and that is that there's something decidedly dodgy about the nurse who's treating the serial killer who was shot by the police and who may be involved in terrorist organisations and whatever. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is
an amazing story.
But I think you might have got it slightly mixed up. Baz says Porky's Bob Dylan story is balderdash. Woodstock wasn't organised around him.
It was.
He just lived in the area at the time.
Exactly, and that's why they took it there. And they said, the closer we get to Bob Dylan's house, the better. He'll just come out and play. That was the whole point of it.
Well, maybe they just hoped that would be the case.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Somebody said, "Are we sure?" "Oh yeah, Bob will come." Yeah. "Oh yeah. Dylan will be here." "Oh, the God is going to appear on the stage with his acoustic guitar," and he never did.
Now, are you worried at all about this business between Unilever and Tesco's? Because a lot of people seem to be getting very worked up about the fact that Marmite and various other products which are made by Unilever are not going to be available over the course of the weekend.
I'm more worried about the long-term implications of if this is what happens when the pound sinks against the dollar, not so much against the euro, because they're actually keeping pace in the fall almost, if you see what I mean. Yes, I worry about the long-term implications of supply and demand into the...
well, you were telling me the other day that actually
Britain.
The pound being weak was a good thing.
Well, I said there are good points about the pound being weak, and that is that people who manufacture stuff here can sell more.
Well, people,
overseas. No, it's not.
It's good for exports because it means
good for exports.
But exports are cheaper for people to buy.
Good for exports, but imports take a knock. Now, one of the things we do import these days is petrol, and although the price of oil is at a 30-year low.
Yeah.
And I read only yesterday that OPEC can't come to an agreement with restricting output, and Iran want to pump out more oil, which will keep it low. Nevertheless, if you're paying for it in dollars, which is the world currency for the petrochemical industry,
Petrodollars, yeah.
Petrodollars, absolutely right, then you're going to be paying more for it. And so people are, saying, 5p a litre increase, which is an enormous amount, by the way, because that's about like 25p a gallon.
Isn't it slightly disingenuous for some of these big international companies to claim that, their profits are being hit because of the sudden drop? Because what they do, and I know this because my sister used to be in that business, they hedge their currency.
Yeah, of course
they spend billions and billions of pounds over the course of the year betting that the currency will go in one way or another so that it doesn't damage their profits just in case.
I think international airlines have bought enough fuel for the next 12 months while the price was low. You see what I mean? Yeah. So when they say, the price of fuel's gone up, you say, but you didn't buy it at this price.
No,
you bought it at the price 3 months ago
so
and all that kind of stuff.
And the same applies, I think, to this. The idea that suddenly, they want prices to go up by 10%.
However,
seems a bit unfair.
However, I thought it was very clever of the reporter who first came across the story yesterday morning to actually spot within it that Unilever, one of the companies involved, and he looked up to find out what products they make, and then it became the Marmite story.
Well, everybody's concerned about Marmite. I don't care about Marmite because I don't eat it.
No, I've never eaten it either.
You've never tried it?
I don't think I've ever tried. I think I might try it on a bit of brown toast or something.
I've tried it.
Yeah,
but I've never particularly liked it.
No, I haven't either, I have to say. It's never appealed to me.
No.
I like marmalade on my toast.
Marmalade is great, actually.
Or jam.
Yes.
Or, in America, on French toast, syrup.
Syrup, I don't really eat that.
Yes.
Did you have breakfast this morning?
Yes.
What did you have?
I had a skinless sausage sandwich. Skinless sausage sandwich. Yeah,
skinless sausage?
Yeah, I like skinless sausages.
What does that look like?
Well, it's like a sausage without any skin on it.
Well, how does it get held together then?
Very much in
reconstituted, sort of mechanically recovered meat.
No. In the same
way,
way,
proper sausage is not going to fall apart if there's going to be skin.
No. In the same way that you talk about, you make your own meatballs, and you make your own burgers by squashing the meat together, and not having anything to bind it together.
Yeah.
That's a skinless sausage sandwich.
Yeah, but it does have something to bind it together.
What?
It has an egg to bind it together.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. You told me you put nothing in it.
Yeah, no.
I said don't use mayonnaise or something like that. You
the
said
meatballs are bound together like that.
Yeah,
but not the hamburger.
What? Sorry,
you didn't make the sausage, did you?
No, of course I didn't make it. I bought it in a packet.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's probably one of those horrible reconstituted, mechanically recovered meat type
it's not.
products.
No. I bought it from Morrison's.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
From the Morrison sausage shelf.
The sausage shelf?
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
How about this from Manny? He says, Porky has more time to be waving at trees, but not to stop and greet his fans for 5 minutes.
No, it's not that at all.
You've dropped yourself right in it by saying all that.
No, I haven't. Honestly, the guy on one particular occasion came, he was waving his arms out, I want to talk to you about football and all that. Well, I didn't have time that day. That was all. There were things to do. I was probably working that evening. I mean, there is a counter story to every story. Yeah.
Okay. All right. If you say so.
Well, there is. I'm telling you. Now, have we talked about Burnley?
We have not.
All right. I want to talk about Burnley.
Yeah. I've never been to Burnley.
I have been to Burnley. I went there because I was in charge of an England under-23 team. And
you were in charge of an England under-23 team?
I was indeed, yeah.
Which England under-23 team?
The England under-23 football team when I was at the Football Association.
I see what you mean. You weren't in charge of them as in managing them.
Well, I went over there with Ray Wilkins, who was in charge of them.
Right.
And,
so when you say you were in charge of the team, you actually weren't?
I was in charge of admin.
Admin?
Yes.
What sort of admin do you have for under 23-year-olds?
Making sure, the 21s actually they were then. I think it was under 23s, I think it was. And, I had to make sure that, the coach arrived on time and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
You made the coach arrived on time?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a very important job.
Excuse me?
Yeah, Porky will arrange the coach times.
No, you don't understand.
And then say that he's in charge of the team.
No.
You were basically in charge of the coach?
No.
What else were you in charge of?
I was in charge of making sure that the ground was properly facilitated for an international game.
What, you mean that they had tea at half-time? That sort of thing?
No.
Oranges?
No, you idiot. That that the referees had arrived on time and the corner flags had been put out.
So you were just standing with a clipboard, basically, like some kind of, pointless civil servant?
No.
You had no input into the style of football being played?
Of course not, because I'm not a professional coach.
Certainly not.
But I was,
Although you're a professional coach person, being in charge of the coach.
No, you idiot. And I had to make sure, the meeting and greeting happened. I shook hands with the chief executive of the opposition.
The opposition?
Yeah.
Who was the opposition?
Don't know, I can't remember. But it was at Burnley's ground.
Oh, okay.
We were based at the time in Leeds because Wembley had been knocked down, and England's next game was against Sweden at Leeds, I remember. And I think that Old Sick Note scored a hat-trick that night. I think it was 5-1.
Darren Anderson?
Yeah, I think it was a 5-1 victory to England, as I recall.
So what was Burnley like? Did you stay in Burnley?
No. I came back on the coach with the team. You know what I mean?
Back to Leeds?
Back to Leeds, that's absolutely right. But anyway, look, the reason we're talking about Burnley is this. In yet another UK survey of towns, Prosperity Index, it may not be the fanciest place to live, but Burnley has been named as the friendliest place in the UK, with friends and neighbours judged more likely to help out in a crisis than anywhere else in Britain.
Really?
That's worth having, isn't it?
Well, I suppose so. But, I mean, on the other hand, you and I have talked many times, have you not, about how you don't particularly like the idea of living in a village because everybody knows your business.
No.
You quite like the idea of the anonymity of a city. So I'm not sure if I would want people kind of coming up to me all the time in Burnley saying, can we help you?
Well, no,
Yeah.
I think in times of crisis and all that sort of thing is what it really means, okay?
Okay, right.
So it says the finding has come in the Legatum Institute UK Prosperity Index, drawn up because the foundation believes, that the foundation being the Legatum Institute, that existing measures of prosperity are too narrowly focused on wealth.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it says it used to use income as one of its criteria. It added a mix of other factors, including how well people got on with their neighbours, quality of schools.
But you can't really measure that, can you? How can you measure how well you get on with your neighbours?
Well, apparently you can. Quality of schools, the natural environment, and how safe people felt. One of the key measures was how many friends and neighbours people can count on in an emergency.
Yeah.
And Burnley is top, the only urban area to perform well. Okay?
So how many people would the average Burnleyan say that they could turn to if there was a time of crisis?
It doesn't actually give that, but what it says is that Burnley is associated with other great sort of bonding areas like the Outer Hebrides. And
The Outer Hebrides?
The Outer Hebrides,
Well, not anybody lives there, though.
Well, I suppose that's why they're all very close with each other, because there's not many of them. The other strange one, Brent in North London.
Brent?
Golly, yeah, Brent in North
Blimey.
London. Oh, no, sorry. Brent in North London named as the least friendly place. That
okay.
makes more sense.
Yeah, that does make more sense.
In the overall rankings, taking the factors of wealth to green spaces, Surrey dominated.
Yes.
Surrey, that's where I live.
Yeah.
Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Yeah,
okay?
well, there's lots of parts of Surrey which are very, very horrible parts of Surrey, aren't
Surrey dominated, with Waverley, Mole Valley and Guildford all in the top 10. Okay?
Well, the horse whisperer was going to Guildford at the end of this month.
Yeah. It says that the great things that make Burnley stand apart. Burnley has Britain's shortest river. It's called the Brun, B-R-U-N.
Well, apparently that's where the name Burnley comes from.
Well, it must do.
Because it was Brunley.
Yeah, Brunley.
L-E-A, because L-E-A is like an old English word for river, isn't it?
Yeah, like Edinburgh.
Although what?
Edinburgh.
It was never called Edinburgh.
No, but it's spelt Edinburgh, isn't
it? B-U-R-G-H is borough, but pronounced in Scotland borough.
Not always.
Yes, it is.
No, Burheath. Burheath is down in Surrey.
Well, I'm saying it's not in Scotland, is it? Borough. B-U-R-G-H in Scotland is pronounced borough.
Anyway, here we go. This is another one. The Burnley Town Miners Club.
Oh, yeah.
They haven't got any mines anymore, by the way.
So who's in the club now?
Well, ex-miners, I suppose. The Town Miners Club, social club, sells more Benedictine than any other hostelry in Britain.
Benedictine?
Yeah.
My mother used to drink
That's the green stuff, isn't it?
No, that's Chartreuse you're thinking of.
No, I'm sure Benedictine's
green. Benedictine is not green.
What colour is it?
It's kind of dark brown.
Is it?
They do a thing called B&B, which is Benedictine and brandy.
Ooh.
Which my mother used to quite like.
Sounds very... Anyway, they sell more there than any other literally licensed place in the country.
Blimey.
The football team, which we know about, Sean Dyke. Yeah, they had a great game today, and I think we'll have an even better game next week. Football team bounces in and out of the Premiership, playing in the top flight in 2009 and again in 2014 and again this season. Juliet Bravo
was filmed there.
No, I didn't realise that.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Juliet Bravo, God.
Why is that funny?
Well, because I thought Juliet Bravo was like, either in London or Manchester or something. Burnley's most famous son is the actor Sir Ian McKellen.
Okay.
He was in Coronation Street once.
He was in Joe Allen's. We were in there, remember?
Yes, he was. He was. That's right. We were in John. He was at a table.
If you'd known that, you could have gone up to him and said, I think Burnley's a fantastic place.
That's right.
Sir Ian. And he'd probably say, I haven't been back there for years.
That's right. I've been back for 40 years. So, well, us Burnleyites must stick together, And, this is a terrible statistic. The town lost 15% of its male workforce in the First World War.
Really?
That's 1/6. That's incredible.
That is incredible, yeah.
Terrible. Anyway, the other places which are great.
Yeah.
Best for business, Bristol.
Bristol, okay.
I never thought of that of Bristol, but anyway, there you go. The safest place in the whole of Britain, if you want to bring your kids up and say to them, go out for the day and leave them out for 16 hours, is the Shetlands.
Right.
And
Well, again, because there's nobody there.
Nobody there. And the richest place, Winchester.
Winchester?
Yeah.
Well, they do charge a lot of money to go to the cathedral there, I can tell you that.
Do they? You've
Yes.
been in there, have you?
Yeah. Martin, no, I didn't go in because they wanted £12.50 a head.
Oh, I think you told me
So
that,
it would have
yeah.
cost me £50 to take everybody in.
Yes.
Martin says this, Porky Language in charge of the under-23s.
Yeah.
What he means is he was actually carrying the bags. Miner says, skinless sausages are straight out of the 1970s. Really cheap these days, £1 for 8 sausages. Did you get them in the bargain bin?
No. And, in fact, there were 12 in my packet anyway. And I had 6 of them this morning.
6?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but they're tiny sausages. They're not like...
Like cocktail sausages?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, they're not
No,
like
they're not.
big beefy
I know exactly
sausages.
what sausage you're talking about.
Yeah.
The brand begins with R, doesn't it?
It's the Irish recipe.
Yep.
Irish recipe.
Yep. Begins with R, doesn't it? Named after a famous town southwest of London. Or southwest
Richmond.
London. Yes.
Richmond sausages.
Yeah.
That's a town in Yorkshire as well.
Yeah, I know this,
Yeah,
where it's the
absolutely,
third came from.
No, they're lovely.
They're awful.
No, they're not.
I don't think they've actually even got any meat in them.
They are brilliant, honestly, and I'm not going into your snobbery bit. I see what you put out for breakfast this morning.
Yeah, I made a frittata.
You had a paella or something, didn't
No,
you?
I made a frittata.
What's a frittata?
It's like an omelette, basically.
An omelette.
It's eggs. I had mushrooms, I had peppers, I had chilli, some ham,
Mm.
a bit of cheese, tomato. It was lovely.
Very exotic, isn't it, for breakfast?
Well, not really. I had plenty of time to make it. It was very nice.
Can't you just do what everybody else does?
Yeah,
and
what, just
have a-
eat 6 skinless sausages on their own?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not really for me.
It wasn't. It was in a toasted sausage.
Toasted
Quite
sausage.
exotic, that, you know.
Toasted what?
Sorry, toasted bread, sausage
right.
sandwich.
Did you have any fat with it? You know, from the fridge?
No.
You sure?
What do you mean fat?
Well, you told me you had a sausage and fat sandwich. You
Oh,
know,
no.
lard.
No, I cooked them in sunflower oil. Sorry, what are you laughing at?
Oh, dear.
What's wrong with sunflower oil?
There's
Sunflower oil is
nothing wrong
very
with it.
healthy.
It's just the point. Yeah, it's very healthy if you cook something healthy in it.
Yes.
It's not very healthy if you cook skinless sausages in it.
It is.
Anyway, we're running out of time for this.
Okay.
We've got more to talk about. We've got snobbery to talk about. I think you're going to give me a snobbery quiz.
Yeah,
We'll
okay,
do that
yeah.
next here on
Okay.
Talk Radio.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy.
This is Talk Radio. We are the Two Mics. Coming up in the next hour, it is, of course, the Porky Quiz. Martin says this at the Two Mics. Ideal breakfast for a heart patient. Loads of bread and 6 sausages full of rust.
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 What do you mean, rust?
Well, I don't know what he means by rust.
No, I don't either.
And Jane says Porky's impression is getting worse. Sean Dyche sounds more like Bernard Manning.
No.
And here's one from Duncan who says Benedictine and hot water is very good to settle the stomach.
Is it?
And he also says it is brown and soldiers brought it in back from Flanders
Right.
in World War One.
Oh.
So there you go.
Is that right? Now then, have I told you about this new book that I've been sent? It's called The New Book of Snobs.
No, you haven't, but you did mention it at the start of the show that you were going to be asking me some questions about it.
It's an author called D.J. Taylor.
Okay.
And there are ins and outs about it's an updated sort of catalogue of what's snobbish and what isn't.
Are they saying being a snob is good or being a snob is bad?
You can be a snob, but you've got to get your factors right to qualify as a snob. What does catnip mean?
Catnip.
Snobbery catnip.
Well, I suppose well, you know what catnip is, right? Basically, catnip
really.
is something you give to a cat, which is akin to giving it a sort of it's a mild stimulant.
Right.
I mean, some people say it's a bit like giving it sort of cat marijuana. And if you give a cat like a little toy that's got catnip in it, the cat sort of goes a bit mad and starts running around and rolling about
I didn't
on the
ask
floor
you
and all
that.
that. Well, I'm explaining it for you
Yeah, but
because what that means is this will have the same effect on somebody who is a snob,
Right.
as catnip will have on a cat. I'm assuming that's what
Right.
I mean.
Okay. Right. So these
Are you saying my explanations are too complicated and too long?
No, I didn't really want to know that much about it. Now, what it's saying is basically things that used to grade you as a snob but no longer do. And things that do. So here we go, right?
Yes.
So things that used to grade you as a snob, which are
Right.
now completely out of fashion.
Okay.
Your giant wall-mounted TV. You can no longer boast to the neighbours about it.
Right. I don't have one of those.
Eh?
A giant wall-mounted TV.
No, I don't either. These days, to have any sort of snobbish attitude towards your TV, you have to refer to your TV room.
Your TV room? Oh, okay. I don't have one of those either.
Well, I mean, that means now it's like your own home cinema, you see what I mean? Like my
Which must be
got
why all these people are putting home cinemas into their basements in Chelsea and Kensington.
Exactly.
Your sister's got a TV room?
Yeah, in Bournemouth.
I didn't see that.
The top floor.
Really?
Top floor is a
Oh, I thought that was where one of their children lived.
Well, it can be. I mean, it's so big. It's at the moment it's a...
But it's not really done out like a cinema, is it?
Well, no, but I mean, it's got a huge screen and it's got, I would say, 8 or 10 very, very comfortable seats. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's right. Which look at that way, and on either side, you're absolutely right. There's room for a bedroom on the right and a kitchen on the left.
Oh,
so,
okay. Do you think she's going to change it into a sort of theatre style thing?
I don't know. It's up to them, whatever. Anyway, the second one, self-assembled furniture no longer makes you a snob of any sort.
Okay, like IKEA type
IKEA.
stuff?
You can't claim any more that I did it all myself.
Oh, I see. Well, why would you do that anyway?
I don't know.
I wouldn't have thought that was a very snobby thing to do.
Apparently, it was in.
Oh, right.
It was in.
Okay.
It was in. If you said, this is from IKEA, we did it ourselves, it's inverted snobbery.
Oh, I see.
See what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, I get stuff from IKEA, but I don't build it because I'm no good at it.
I get Billy bookcases.
Yes. Can you build them yourself, though?
Yes, I can,
or do you get the housekeeper to do
I forgot to put the panel on the back once.
Yes.
But, and I only found out when the book started falling out. But, I mean, apart from that...
I once built one around the wrong way. I had to undo it all and do it back up again.
Exactly.
So that's why I leave it to somebody else.
Exactly. Right, the other one is... And I don't quite understand this. Gladioli. Gladioli are out.
Is that, are they? I never had any of them either.
Gladioli's a plant, is it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah? Indoor plant?
Outdoor, I think.
Okay, no good having those indoor. Right. Prosecco or Cava?
Prosecco or Cava. Funnily enough, last night I was in a Spanish tapas bar.
Right.
And asked for Prosecco, and the guy nearly threw me out.
Right.
He was like, no, this is a Spanish place.
Didn't give you sangria, did he?
We have Cava.
Oh, Cava.
Because Cava's Spanish.
Oh, okay, yeah,
so
fine.
they don't serve Prosecco in a Spanish bar.
Well, if you tell people you're drinking Prosecco and Cava these days, a year ago, that you could have classified yourselves as a snob.
Oh, right.
Now that's completely out.
So that's out now?
That's out.
Okay.
These are all out. Gladioli's out.
Okay.
IKEA's out, Prosecco. The next thing that's out, the fake fire.
Yes, well, I don't blame anyone for getting rid of that.
No, but apparently they very, very expensive fake fires came onto the market in which you literally couldn't tell them from the real thing.
Yeah.
They're now out.
Right. I'd never have a fake fire.
Something called athleisure wear. Athleisure wear.
Athletic? Oh, what do you mean?
No, athleisure. It says it's leisure with the initials ATH on the front.
I don't know what that is.
No. Okay, fake leather is now out.
Well, there goes your bag then for headphones.
No, my bag's...
That is a faux leather bag.
It's not. Right, this is the one I love. You're no longer a snob if you now imitate people like Tony Blair and go tieless 99% of the time.
Tieless? No longer a snob?
No.
So does that mean it's a good thing to go tieless or
not?
No,
it means that if you really want to be a snob these days, you've got to go back to wearing a tie.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
but I don't really want to be a snob. That's my point. I mean, you quite enjoy the idea of being a snob.
Not really.
Does that mean you can start wearing ties again?
No, definitely not.
You can have mine if you want.
No, I've got 100 ties, like you, but I've worn them for ages.
Yeah,
right. An affected accent no longer makes you a snob. Now, we have friends, don't we, who we know came from very good backgrounds and all that, who are, what's the expression that they used to say about the film director who was married to Madonna?
Oh, what, Guy Ritchie? What, estuary English, that kind of thing?
Not that. Didn't they used to call him began with M? I
don't know.
Yeah, sort of... a
mimic?
No, a man. A sort of... what was it?
I don't know.
Yeah, a mankini. No, that's...
A mankini?
No, not a mankini. That's a
man-child?
No, what was it?
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
You do know what I'm talking about.
No.
A man meeting his feminine side.
A metrosexual
Metro man.
That's what they used to call him.
Apparently.
Guy Ritchie?
Yeah, apparently.
Are you sure?
Well, apparently
I don't think he would fit that particular description.
Okay. But anyway, that's out now, okay? Right.
Well, we do know people who pretend that they have a more common voice than they really do.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. But by the same token, we also know people who pretend that they're posher than they actually are.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But the inverted snobbery is, remember the violin player who supports Aston Villa?
Oh, what, Nigel Kennedy?
Nigel Kennedy.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him once, and he was discussing some great classical piece with the brother of Lloyd Webber.
Right.
Who's
Julian,
who was a bassist, right?
Yeah.
So I was watching this literally on a classical TV programme,
Why?
you know. Well, I don't know. I just was. Yeah, maybe I was waiting
must have been
for
a slow news day.
Yeah, it must have been waiting for another program. So, and Julian Lloyd Webber speaks beautifully, you know. So
He does speak very well.
How the bass, he played the double bass.
The double bass and the cello, I believe.
The cello, that's right. Oh, the cello complements the violin. And old Nigel, what's his name?
Nigel Kennedy.
Nigel Kennedy.
I just told you his name.
Yeah. He was examining his Stradivarius, violin and saying, I totally agree, Julian. He says, I think the way that the interweavery of C minor in both our instruments is terrific.
Uh-huh.
And then the next day, he'd been following Villa or something, or some team.
Because he supports Aston Villa.
And I saw him interviewed, and he was just like a slob. And obviously the programme I watched the night before had been pre-recorded, so probably weeks or months ago.
Right.
But all of a sudden he's unshaven and he's talking about, being ejected from some, bar or something, following her. Yeah, all the guys in the bar.
But he's got his Canuck accent back.
Yeah, he said they had attitude. I told them you don't have attitude with me. And all this kind of stuff, completely different. So I don't know why anybody in the world goes around adopting two different ways of speaking.
Yes.
I've no idea.
No.
I just can't work it out.
Well, because they always get discovered, don't they?
Yeah, of course they do.
Well, we'll have to do more on the snobbery coming up the next hour because we're running out of time.
No, we've
now.
done enough on snobbery.
St. John says this: Porky's snob credentials have been irreparably damaged with his admission he scoffed sausage and lard butties. Sausage and lard butties, I should say.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with.
And Sam says real snobs don't own television sets. #wireless.
Eh?
Real snobs don't own television sets.
Don't get that one.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't. Right now, we're going to be looking ahead to the next hour. We're going to be talking about potholes, which you'll love because you hate potholes. And, of course, we're going to do the Porky Quiz on Christopher Columbus as well. The news is coming up next. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. We are the two Mikes here with you on Talk Radio. Coming up in this hour, we're going to talk about potholes, because somebody's created a road hazard reporting app, which you will love, because you're always moaning and groaning about the holes that you're driving into. Also, of course, the Porky Quiz coming up this afternoon. It is, of course, on Christopher Columbus, an area of great expertise for Mr. Parry, or so he says. Don't forget, you can tweet us at the two Mikes, at Mike Parry 8 and at IROMG. We are the two Mikes. So, what are you laughing at?
Well, first of all, there's two things to correct here, right? I wasn't going on to metrosexualism.
Right.
It was mockney.
Oh, mockney.
Yeah.
So that's completely different.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
Well, mockney is the effect of putting on a Cockney accent.
Exactly.
When you're actually not a Cockney.
Exactly. When you're quite posh.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is what Guy Ritchie kind of is, isn't it?
Exactly. That's right. But the second one is we've just heard from Bob.
Bob.
Did you not hear him in the
Bobcat Bob
in the news broadcast?
No. I didn't hear it. I was outside sorting something out.
Yeah. No. I just listened to the sports broadcast.
And what did he say?
He said, we've talked before about, respect,
pushing the envelope.
Yeah, pushing the envelope. What Bob said was, he was asked about his players' response to training. He says, the reaction was fantastic. He said,
he's going to be great value, this guy.
And then he said, these guys are sharp. I mean, sharp! So
he's going to be brilliant.
Sharp.
He's going to be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Rodney says this, praiseworthy of you. Once again, Mike Parry proves he is the man of the people when telling us he builds his own IKEA furniture.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done, Porky.
Thank you.
Mind you, having told us yesterday that you were in sort of class of your own in terms of interior decorating,
yes.
I didn't think you were going to turn around and tell me you actually got a load of stuff out of IKEA.
Yeah, I've been to IKEA over the years. The problem with IKEA is if you get too ambitious and you say, I could build that wardrobe, I'm going to take that.
Well, the thing to avoid at all costs, right?
Yeah.
There are two things I'll tell you to avoid at all costs. You would never buy bunk beds anyway, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. But I once bought a load of bunk beds, right? Yeah. And it was when I was still married, and my ex-wife and her mother spent 10 hours building them.
How did you get them home in the first place? That's what I was going to say next.
Well, it comes in flat packs. You just put it in.
But hang on, I bought a wardrobe, right? And by mistake, I bought this down in... on the coast, actually. Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't. It was over in Ipswich, in Orwell Quay.
Ipswich?
Yeah.
Have they got an IKEA there?
Yeah, they have, And I was finishing out the place on the marina.
Yeah.
And I just drove along there. Oh, it's all right, And I only saw the end of the box, if you see what I mean. They're on these huge stacking shelves,
Yeah.
And I brought the guy down, and I said, I'll have one of those wardrobes, please. He said, OK, I'll get you a trolley. I said, I'll just carry it, I seriously. Anyway, the trolley needed was like the size of an HGV vehicle.
Yes, right.
And he wheeled it out to the car, and I had a Jaguar in those
You probably
days.
couldn't get it in the car.
There was no way of getting in the car. No way at all. I
Well,
said,
it says you have to get them to deliver it then.
yeah. That's right, yeah. I said, why did you bother bringing it out, mate?
Yeah.
I said...
Well, how did he know you didn't have a car big enough to take it?
Well...
I mean, he probably assumed...
He should have said to me, oh, by the way, do you have a van?
Yeah.
And do I look like a white van driver? Do I? Me?
Well,
Moi?
there's nothing wrong with
Portmeister?
driving a white van.
Nothing wrong. But generally speaking,
Well, no, he would have
chaps like
assumed...
that would be wearing, like, builder's clothes or something like that.
Surely he would have assumed that if you were taking something that large out into the car parking area and the loading area, that your car would have been big enough to take it.
Well, exactly, and I thought it would have been. I thought I'd somehow strap it to the roof or something. You know what I mean, or something like that.
Well, I had one of those. I had a problem like that when I bought a table. I think it was in Glasgow,
right?
And I took the car to pick it up, and it was literally about an inch too long. To go too wide to go across the back seat.
Yeah, I see.
And it was at the time it was just I had a car with a boot, and so I couldn't put it in the boot. Yeah. And because it was just an inch too long, I basically and it was raining, so I was getting more and more irritated.
Of course,
as I was trying to get this thing. As I thought, well, surely I can get this in, but I couldn't shut the doors.
No.
And so eventually, my other half had to drive the car home.
Yes.
And I had to get in a cab.
Yes. Yeah.
And,
okay.
and the taxi, which was slightly wider, was able to take it.
Unbelievable. And so I said to this guy, I said, why have you let me wheel this all the way out here? And he said, sorry, sir. I said, well, you must do under there. I said, didn't you know this wouldn't get into a car?
Yeah.
He said, oh, I thought you might have a PSG vehicle or something. What was it? Public service vehicle, PSV or something.
PSV.
So what do I have one of those for?
SPG.
SPG or something. I don't know.
Wasn't that from Thunderbirds?
What?
Wasn't that from Thunderbirds
or
something? Or from, one of those puppet shows?
No, I'm
talking... SPG vehicle.
I don't know. Anyway, the point is, in the end, I said, well, take it back and put it on a lorry, and it arrived. But it was huge. Yeah. And it also took a day.
So you then have to carry it up the stairs?
Funny enough...
Because it wouldn't get in the lift, would it?
Yeah, it did get in the lift. By putting it up straight, right. Up straight, just about got it in. Yeah. Leaning it over in the lift.
Because that's the other problem that you have if you live... Well,
you do.
Most of your places are flats, they've probably got a lift.
Yeah, yeah.
But a lot of places where you buy big things, you can't get them upstairs.
I totally agree. And anyway, got it in, and that was the famous occasion when the chap who put it together for me was Johnny Walk's brother.
Right.
And Johnny Walk...
So you didn't put this particular wardrobe together?
No, I had no chance. I couldn't have worked it out myself.
Well, the other thing, they've got, like, drawers in as well. The
that's right. They had all of that.
And these ridiculous runners and wheels. And
mirrors to put on it and all sorts of things, on the doors and all that, which made it extra heavy. And but Johnny Walk, who's in the building trade, Johnny Walk's brother, Andy, who's in the building trade, was working down at Ipswich because Johnny Walk played for Ipswich with great distinction. And so, as in those days, there was the Alan Brazil connection, all that kind of stuff. He said, oh, yeah, mate, if you want to help me out on anything, let me know. So he built it. Anyway, the first thing I asked him to help me out with was putting up the bathroom cabinets. Yes. And I think I've told you this story.
I don't think you have.
Well, Andy is 6'7". Yeah. So when I wasn't there, I said, oh, look, can you put up all the rails in the bathroom and the bathroom cabinets and that thing? He said, yeah, no problem at all. Of course, being 6'7", he puts the bathroom cabinet up on the wall like this, right, and sees his image.
Like a giant.
Sees his image perfectly and thinks, oh, that's good. Of course,
surely you must know that everybody's not 6'7".
Well, I mean,
a plank, was he?
I don't know what went wrong, but I come back to the place after not being there a couple of days. Yeah. Oh, great, Andy's fitted all the fixtures and he'd done everything, and all that. Walked into the bathroom.
You had to stand on a ladder so you could see yourself.
All I could see in the bathroom cabinet was the top of my head. I mean, it was ridiculous. Right. And I had to get him back to lower them because I'm 5'8" and 3/4.
So you keep saying
he was 6'7", and so
that's nearly a foot taller than you.
Exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Well, surely, if he does it for people, he must realise that the average height that you should put a bathroom cabinet at is about 5'4" or something.
Whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. He's a great guy. Actually, he did a great job for me. He did a bit of building work and all sorts of things. He's probably still working in that trade around there.
Well, let's hope
there's lots of building going on.
Put bathroom cabinets in.
Yeah, sure.
Because otherwise, it's a bit embarrassing.
It could have been. Anyway,
we were talking before about what I wanted to know from you from the snobbery thing. What now is considered to be something that qualifies you to call yourself a snob?
Good question, because I'm going to tell you. Okay, we've done enough on snobs, but
we haven't. No, all you've done is told us what's now no longer snobbish.
Right.
So what is actually now considered snobbish?
Right. To get into snobbery now, displaying your favourite photographs in frames displayed as high art.
High art? What do you mean, like on the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we've had some pictures taken of ourselves recently.
We
right?
have. Very good pictures.
Very good pictures by a gentleman called Junior,
Yes.
who is multi-talented.
Yes.
He's in the IT business, but he's a brilliant photographer.
He
He
is.
takes great digital photographs and has taken a collection of photographs for us for our new website.
That's right.
And when we sent them to Munich, where it's being built...
Munich.
Yeah, Munich.
Only you
yes.
could find somebody in Munich.
Well, that's right, yeah.
You know.
They said they were some of the best pictures they'd ever seen,
Yeah.
so that's great. But anyway, the point is, we could easily take one of those, you see what I mean? Put it in a frame
Yes.
and stick it in our homes and say that's art.
Well, I would never have a picture of myself on the wall, though.
I might have a picture of the two
tell
of
me
us.
what you would do.
No, I might have a picture of the two of us.
That's the kind of thing that's very gauche, I would have thought, rather than a snobby. Because funnily enough, do you remember
Yes.
Vision Hire?
Yes.
Do you remember the
where you used
the
to hire
place
your
we-
telly.
Yeah, but my parents...
Usually in a wooden cabinet.
Yeah, the guy who owned Vision Hire, right,
Yes,
was
yes.
bizarrely a friend of my parents, and they used to play golf together.
Get a
and
free
stuff.
telly?
We never did get a free telly, no,
Right,
strange
okay.
enough. We did go to his house once,
Oh, right.
and we walked into this very posh house somewhere in Mayfair, and I was a kid, I was about 9, 10 or 11 or something, and we walked into the sort of what you might regard as, I suppose, the drawing room, where there was some settees and places to sit, and it was a massive oil painting of him and his wife.
Oh, really?
I mean, just huge,
Well, that's-
up on the wall.
That's what people do.
Well, it's the kind of thing that, Trump would do. But, I mean, I would never do that. I would never have a picture of myself on the wall.
Yeah.
But I can imagine you would.
No, I don't think I would actually have a
So
picture of myself.
you could stare at it for hours on end.
I once gave my mother a picture of myself for
Yeah,
Christmas. I
I
told
know.
you that, didn't
You
I?
did, yeah.
Which was drawn by an artist, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I am actually, having said that, I'm going to give my sister for Christmas a copy of one of our posters from Edinburgh.
okay. That's
I'm going to
great.
get it framed.
That's great.
Because she's got a wall where she's got all sorts of stuff like that on it.
I need to talk to you about getting a suitable image to put in the Everton programme
Oh, yes.
against West Ham, which is the week before we're at the O2 in Liverpool,
Oh, right.
to promote the show.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we can talk about that
Sorted.
later. Yeah.
You know, I've got
Okay.
connections, you know
All
what I
right,
mean?
very good. Are you just going to talk? You want just one of yourself or two of us?
No, we'll have the two of us.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, as long
That
as
makes a
I'm more
change.
prominent. Anyway, the other things
Well,
now...
if you're standing on a box.
Yeah, the
It's in
other...
the time, by the way.
Hang on, just very quickly, you wanted to know. Right, picture lights, in the ceiling.
Yeah.
In the ceiling, okay.
No, picture lights. No, picture lights are to illuminate pictures.
Illuminate pictures, that's right. Yeah,
So they're
that's
actually
what-
they're lights on pictures.
Now this is strange. You know what this means? If you're a snob if you have weird cutlery.
Weird cutlery.
Weird cutlery.
What is weird
I've
cutlery?
no idea.
Although my dad once had a very odd canteen of cutlery.
Right.
This was actually before he went a bit
Right.
gaga. He came home one day. I can't remember where he got it. Some shop was closing down.
Yeah.
And he came home with this entire canteen of cutlery
Right.
in a sort of attaché case.
Yeah.
And when we
In an
opened it up,
attaché case, yeah.
well, it comes
Yeah,
in a
I
case.
know what you mean.
You know.
Well, don't you mean a wooden box like
Well,
a great
yeah,
canteen?
but it was like
Yeah,
a sort
sure.
of briefcase type thing.
Okay.
But when you opened it up, it was all gold plated.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, is this like something out of Louis XV or something? Why do you want some of that rubbish?"
Somebody give it him.
Well,
or something.
he bought it.
Bought it.
I don't know why.
Very odd.
Yeah.
Anyway, very quickly, dark sheets on your bed.
Dark sheets.
Yeah, not
No,
for me.
no.
Not for me. Definitely not for me.
When we stayed in Edinburgh, they had dark purple sheets on the bed I was in.
Oh,
Which was a bit off-putting, I thought.
Can't remember mine.
We better
actually.
stop talking soon. We've got a guest to talk to.
Driving gloves.
Never.
Well, apparently they're back
Have you
in
got
fashion.
driving gloves?
No, well, dream it. Did you? A banana stand, like a little metal thing in your house with two bananas hanging off it.
Why?
Well, I don't know. People have them.
A
I've
banana
seen them.
stand?
Yeah, I've seen
Why
them.
would you
yeah.
have a banana
Both
stand?
my sisters have got them.
Why?
Because it's a little looping metal frame,
Yeah.
silver, usually solid silver,
Yeah.
and you hang bananas on them.
Why?
You never seen one of those?
No.
Yeah, you're mad. Glaringly white teeth.
Yeah.
Right,
I've never
okay.
had those.
And for some known reason, it says you're a snob if you have air freshener in your house. Really?
Possibly. Yeah.
I know
don't think
about
I've
that.
had that anyway.
Very
Anyway, you
expensively
have to
dressed
stop now.
children
Yeah.
and ramped up central heating.
Yeah.
I don't know what
no,
that
I haven't
is.
got either of those.
But I've
I
got a
think-
terrible
Well,
problem
it sounds a
with
bit. I
central
never was a snob, and I'm certainly not one now. Coming up next, though, we've got to talk to Sam Jones from Fill That Hole campaign, who's created a road hazard reporting app. It's going to be great news for you because you're always reporting potholes.
Excellent.
This is Talk Radio. Coming up very shortly, it's going to be time for the Porky Quiz. But before that, we've got to talk about something very, very important, something very close to your heart, of course, which is the pothole problem in this country.
Yes.
Because you're always telling me that you're running into them and ruining your wheels.
Yes.
First of all, though, Albert says this. I would like to know, Porky, where IKEA is in Ipswich. He claims, I presume, that there isn't one there.
I've
Maybe it's just
no
a figment
idea.
of your
To be honest.
imagination.
I've no idea. But there's a lot of these sort of trading estates around there.
Uh-huh.
A lot of them.
Well, they might have been another kind of flat pack company.
Yeah, could have been. Do you know what it could have been? Could have been a place called...
Could have been Argus.
No, it wasn't Argus. It could have been a place with a red symbol.
A red symbol?
Yeah, it's a big...
Well, like the post office?
No, it's a big chain of stores, and I bought a lot of furniture there, but I didn't buy any flats. I think it was IKEA, but anyway.
And then Rodney says, what's this? John Walk's brother helping Porky put up a wardrobe. I retract my last tweet saying Porky was a man of the people.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I am one of the people.
Now, when was the last time you drove into a pothole?
Well, if you drive on regular routes, which we all do, you know, a regular journey into work and all that kind of regular journey down to the coast and all that, you know where the potholes are. And so you try to avoid them, but that in itself is dangerous. If you're swerving across the road, literally, because you're trying to avoid a pothole, that can itself be dangerous. However, when a new one springs up, then you've got a problem.
Are you capable of answering a question just by giving an answer to it?
Well, I'm going to answer your question. I was going home just a week or so ago down my regular route through Stockbroker Belt territory.
Yeah.
And I went into a pothole I didn't know was there, and it was a real jar. You know what I mean? It was a real clunk.
Right.
You know, not a sort of a dip and up again.
And you worry it's actually damaged the suspension.
Well, what you do then is I slow down for, to 30 or 40 miles an hour for about 2 or 3 miles, and then, put my foot on the brake and then go again to see if I've damaged any suspension.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Mercedes are built like tanks, and it didn't do any damage.
Okay, well, let's talk to Sam Jones, because Sam Jones is from the Fill That Hole campaign.
Good.
And has actually created an app for reporting hazards.
Yeah.
So I hope you reported that one, and if you didn't, now might be the time. Sam, very good afternoon to you.
Very good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. I mean, this is something that there used to be. I don't know whether it was a sort of an urban myth or a apocryphal situation that if you reported a pothole and nothing was done about it, and your car was then damaged in that pothole, you could claim some kind of compensation. Is that still the case?
Yes, I mean, not in so many words, but I mean, there's a legal obligation upon all local authorities to maintain their roads at a sort of a good state. So something like Fill That Hole, which is like, it was set up by Cycling UK, which is the national cycling charity.
Right.
It reports a pothole to the right local authority, because most of the time when you're driving along, who do you report it to?
Sure.
If you're driving across several borders, you don't know. So this takes out all the hassle. You can do it online, or you can do it from your smartphone. And if you're doing it at the roadside, you take a picture or geotag it and send it to the right local authority. They've got it logged. And then it means that, within a reasonable amount of time, they've got to sort of sort it out, check it out, make sure whether it reaches their criteria for fixing.
Yes.
And what is their criteria for fixing a pothole?
Yeah, exactly.
Or does that vary from local authorities?
Yeah, it varies from local authority to authority. But once it's logged, say a week later after it's been logged and nothing's been done about it, whether you're on your bike or in your car or anything, if you hit the pothole and something bad happens, you've then got a means to actually go, there's a hole here, you haven't fixed it, you haven't met your sort of legal obligation to fix it. So you're in a much stronger position.
Yeah. Do you think any day or any time soon, one of these county councils, I live in Surrey, and they've got a big problem, okay? Do you think they might just be bright enough, Sam, to say, why don't we get in an economist who can work out the relationship between fixing those potholes to stop future claims and the fact that we pay 27% of our road budget now out to drivers who've got damaged cars? I mean, can't we get that equation right?
You would hope so. I mean, but to be fair to local authorities, I mean, I live in Surrey as well, so I'm fully aware of how terrible the roads are, but I don't think it's entirely their fault. We've got the Asphalt Industry Alliance estimated it's about a £12 billion problem in terms to fix all our roads in England and Wales.
Yeah.
The government's allocated $50 million a year to fix our roads. That's a sticking plaster solution for a broken leg. It's just not enough. It's just keeping them sort of ticking along, and what it means is that we're getting superficial sort of fixing. So when you see people like pouring a bit of tarmac in and then heating it up.
I agree.
What we need is actually full.
Got to resurface the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that again is a huge expense for an awful lot of local authorities, presumably, who say that they haven't got enough money to keep open libraries or to do the services that they're meant to do.
No, exactly. I mean, and that's one of the reasons we set up Fill That Hole. It's not about sort of putting local authorities in the dock. It's actually helping them out, going,
these are where the problems are, because they'll be doing routine, regular checks.
Yeah.
But particularly on the sort of roads for cyclists, which are sort of narrow lanes, off not the A roads or the trunk roads,
sure,
they'll be checked less regularly. So it's sort of citizen reporting. Go, look, there's a problem here. Go along and check it out, please.
Yeah. And on the app itself, Sam, does it when you were saying you can sort of geo-map it and make sure that the location is very clear as to where you are, will the app then sort of find the right place to send it, if you like, or do you have to still do that?
No, it's all done for you within the app, or if you do it online as well. So once it's worked out your location, it would say if you're in Surrey, it would send to Surrey, but if you're in Hampshire, it would send it to Hampshire instead, and it would be logged, and we'll keep a record of that email as well. Yeah. So we help out both cyclists and drivers. With this app, it's there for all road users.
Yeah. What worries me, Sam, having been around a few decades now, is that the British people have now actually started to accept that potholes are here forever, and are organising their lives towards them. The reason I say that is I genuinely saw an advert for a 4x4 car a couple of weeks ago. Don't want to say what make it is and all that, but one of the selling points actually said reinforced suspension, pothole proof. I mean, it's almost as if now we've got to live with it forever.
Yeah, well, that's a terrible situation to be in. I mean, as I was saying earlier, there's not enough investment coming from central government to help out local authorities, and that's what really needs to be addressed.
Well, it doesn't need to be. It doesn't just need to be addressed. I mean, it's a national scandal because we all know that if you slow down the amount of time it takes people to get from A to B, which this must do for obvious reasons, the economy slows down, doesn't it?
I'm not an economist, so I wouldn't be able to.
Well, I can tell you now, if we raised the the speed limit from 70 to 80 miles an hour, economists say that would add 1% to the the growth of the economy and all that kind of stuff. So if people are crawling around at 25 miles an hour,
most of the potholes presumably are on more urban roads. I mean,
agree,
motorways don't really have them.
Urban and rural roads, I mean...
Yeah, but you're still getting from A to B. I'm talking about a farmer delivering his produce to market, or I'm talking about, taxi drivers in rural locations who can only serve a certain number of passengers a day if they've got to go slowly, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Well, we've got the government's got something called the Road Investment Strategy, which has got a £15 billion budget, and that's all being allocated towards building new roads. I mean, Cycling UK, we'd actually like to see that money being invested in actually fixing the state of our current roads.
Yes.
Sure.
I mean, not saying, stop building all roads, but actually let's fix what we've got before I'm building more.
Yes. Yeah, well, they're certainly doing that with Tower Bridge. They've shut it down for 3 months, which hasn't been very helpful either. Yeah. Sam, where did we get the app? Tell us.
So you can get it from the Google Play or from the Apple Store, or if you go online, it's www.fillthathole.org.uk.
Great stuff, Sam. Thank you very much indeed. Sam Jones there from the Fill That Hole campaign. You should get that app on your phone if you can figure out how to do it.
What's that?
Did you not just get the instructions?
Yeah, but I've given up now.
You go to Google Play, you download the app, you put it on your phone. Every time you go into a pothole, you report it.
I'll do that. All right, okay. Yeah.
You won't know how to, will you?
Well, why would I report it? What's the point? When you waste your time reporting something that's not going to be fixed?
Because the point of reporting it is that then they will fix it.
I'm not one of the great unwashed masses who goes around, reporting things on petitions and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
No.
Okay, well then your car's going to get damaged.
It's not. It's not going to improve it if I do report it.
Yeah. Well, I think it will. I don't know why you don't actually do something public-spirited once in a while.
I do. I buy a decent car that doesn't get broken when it goes into a pothole.
I see. Okay. Well, we'll talk about your punctures later on. Bit of a sea shanty for you there.
Bit of a sea shanty.
Why? Do you know why?
It's now time for the Porky Quiz on Christopher Columbus, one of the most famous sailors of all time.
One of the famous seafarers of all time, you'd say, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Now, as per usual, we have provided by the independent quizmasters 10 questions, which are not multiple choice.
Right, okay.
They have only one correct answer, so there's no arguing or worrying about that, right?
Okay.
If you get one correct, you will hear this sound.
Okay. Oh, I like that.
If you get one incorrect, which I think you will hear this sound.
Walk the plank.
Walk the plank. Very apt. Very apt for the plank. Now, are you ready for question number 1?
Yes, let's go.
Do you want to have that music on underneath it as I ask you the questions? Or not?
No, that will irritate
Well, that irritate you. Yes. Well, maybe we should keep it going then.
Concentration factor.
Question number 1.
Yes.
From which port did Columbus set sail in Spain on his first voyage to the Americas?
Which port?
From which port?
He went to... His first stop was in the Canary Islands.
I'm not asking you what his first stop was.
I'm thinking
asking
loud.
you from where did he set sail?
He set sail from San Sebastian.
Incorrect.
No, that's not incorrect.
It is. It was Palos de la Frontera.
That's near to San Sebastian.
Well, it's not San Sebastian, is it?
Well, it may have been in those days.
No, it wasn't. Incorrect. Question number 2. On what did Columbus base his geographical calculations?
His geographical
Calculations for the trip, yeah.
No, sorry, I need a more defined question.
All right, well,
do you mean astrophysically?
I mean...
Do you mean geometrically?
Well, I mean
geographical. Do you mean geographically?
Geographical is in the question. On what did Columbus base his geographical calculations? I.e., how did he plot the course?
How did he plot the course?
Yeah.
He plotted the course... I know the answer to this one. He plotted the course because he thought, right, I know an awful lot about Columbus.
Yeah.
The problem was that the land routes... on the Silk Road, which had been kept open for centuries by the rule of the Mongols.
That was in Asia.
Yeah, it is in Asia. It is in Asia.
Yeah.
It is in Asia.
Right, he wasn't going there, was he?
No, the reason why Columbus went across the Atlantic was to try and find a backward route to Asia. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the whole idea.
Was it?
Now he told he told the king in Spain it's only 3,000 miles. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was the geographical plan that he put forward, and that's why he went.
So you're saying that's what he used?
I'm saying he used his calculations from his sextant to work out that the distance to Asia on a westerly route was 3,000 miles.
Okay, that's incorrect.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not.
It's incorrect. He used the second book of Esdras in the Apocrypha, which was in fact a part of the medieval Bible.
I knew the Apocrypha.
Well, you didn't say that.
I knew the Apocrypha.
You didn't say it.
But you said geographically.
That's what he used to base his geographical
that was
assessment.
spiritually. That was spiritually.
No, it was not. Question number 3. Where was Columbus appointed governor?
He was appointed governor of...
0 out of 2 so
No,
far.
hang on, I'm thinking aloud. Now, it's Hispaniola and San Salvador which come to mind, right? And I think they're both the same. So I'm going to say Hispaniola, San Salvador. He was governor. He was taken back in chains, being too brutal to the local population.
That's right.
Hispaniola.
Correct.
Thank you. Whoa, 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 whoa.
1 out of 3.
Yeah.
Well done. Question number 4. What did Columbus's father do for a living?
His father was a weaver. His father...
He was a weaver. He went a bit early on that one.
Yeah, thank you.
A weaver of what?
Wool and other fabrics.
Okay.
Hey!
I'll give you that. He was a wool weaver in Genoa.
Fantastic.
Calm down. All right, so you got 2 out of 4.
Yeah,
Question number 5.
And I knew the Apocrypha. You should ask.
Well, you didn't tell me.
You said geographically, not spiritually.
No, there's no point in saying I knew it if you don't say it, right? If you know something, you should say it.
Yeah, but you should ask proper questions.
I'm only reading the questions out.
Not bizarre questions.
I only read the questions out. When did Columbus die?
Columbus died in...
I'm looking for a year, obviously.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Right, I tell you what, he was dragged back in chains, you know what. Yeah, I know when he died. He died in the year 1506.
Correct.
Hey! Oh, whoa, it's a hat-trick. 3 on the run.
Yeah, that's 3 out of 5. So far going at 60%, which is pretty high for you.
Wow.
Let's see if you can get the next question.
Wow.
Question number 6.
Yes.
Who played Columbus in the 1992 Carry On film?
Oh, what a ridiculous question.
Why?
Well, that's not about Columbus.
Yeah, it is.
That's about... The
film was called Carry On Columbus.
Ealing Studios.
Carry On Columbus is the film.
Carry On Columbus film. I'm thinking aloud here. Now, what springs to mind is Jim Dale, right? But, of course, I'm thinking aloud, it's not an answer. But, of course, those Carry On films, Sid, what's his name? Sid, he played King Henry in Carry On King, or Carry On Henry.
King?
Carry On Henry. Sid...
I can't give you any clues, obviously.
Let me see. I'm going to say Columbus, you're saying?
I'm saying Columbus, yes.
Who was the rather a fake little chap with the glasses?
I can't give you any clues or answers.
It could have been him. I'm going to say Jim Dale.
Correct.
Oh!
We might have to get the...
God!
We might have to get the defibrillator up from downstairs.
4 out of 6.
Down.
66%.
4 out of 6. Right. Question number 7.
Yes.
Can you name any of Columbus's ships?
I can name...
You only have to give me one answer, but there are several possibilities.
Okay. He took 3 ships on his first voyage. I know that 2 of them were called Nina after a woman he loved and Pinta after the pint.
Correct.
Hey! Oh my God!
You missed out one which was called Santa Maria,
Santa
but that's
Maria.
okay.
Oh my God!
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 7.
Out of 7, yeah.
Incredible. No,
Oh,
question number 8.
yeah.
When is Columbus Day celebrated in the USA?
Columbus Day celebrated in the USA. It's on a Monday. It's usually on a Monday. Okay, it's always on a Monday, in fact. Thinking aloud. Now,
Well, you don't get any points for that.
No, it's not.
Because it's a bank holiday, isn't it?
It's a bank holiday, yes. Now, it's definitely not in November because that's Thanksgiving. I think Columbus Day is... Because we used to take a day off, didn't... No, we didn't take a day off. The Americans did, and we used to go and join them for lunch. So I reckon Columbus Day... You want to know the month?
I want to know when Columbus Day is celebrated in the USA. It is a specific time.
Yes, okay. I believe it is... I'm going to give you a month, and the month is March.
Incorrect.
No!
It is always on the second Monday of October.
Second Monday of October?
So we've only just had it, which is why I thought you might know. So, you remain to have what? Is it 6 or 5?
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
6.
No, it's 5, I think.
No, it's 6. It's definitely 6.
6 out of 8? Is
Yeah,
that right?
of course it is, because
So
I
you got
got
1 and
5
2
in
wrong.
succession. I got one before
2,
that.
3. No, I've only got 5 here.
You got 5.
5.
Yeah.
So you're cheating already. 5 out of 8. Question number 9. How many brothers did Columbus have?
Columbus had, let me see, he had 2 children, but I believe he had, dear me, thinking out here, he had 2 brothers or 3 brothers. So what am I going to guess? I'm going to guess, because I read his book and he mentioned 2 of his brothers. But I think it's a
You read his
third
book?
one. I read a book about him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say he had 3 brothers.
Correct.
Hey! Oh! Woo! Woo!
Are you sure you haven't seen the questions?
I'm certain I haven't seen the questions.
You've never
mate.
ever got 6 out of 10 without cheating.
Oh, I don't think so.
You've never ever got 6 out of 10 without cheating.
I don't think so.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, question number 10. Can you get 7 out of 10, which would be your all-time greatest score, by the way?
Fantastic.
Even better than the chocolate quiz, which you only got 6 out of because you could taste the chocolate.
Fantastic.
Question number 10.
Yes.
Where is the statue of Columbus being threatened with destruction because of his links to colonialism?
Ooh.
If you get this, I'll know you cheated.
No, hang on. Well, that must be... It must be surely where he was governor. It must be Hispaniola, San Salvador. Hang on, thinking aloud. Or it could be at a university in the United States of America who have decided, a bit like we have students at Oxford who want to pull down the Rhodes statue. It could be that. So I'm going to say San Salvador.
Incorrect.
No.
Yeah, that's more like it. I'm
What was
afraid
it?
it's Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Because
What's that got to do with it?
there's an anti-capitalist group there
Oh, no.
who are in the local sort of government in
Right.
Catalonia,
Okay.
who think that he is a ghastly man
Yeah.
and that he should never be honoured in any way
Okay.
because he was in favour of colonialism. So
Okay.
your final score is 6 out of 10.
Oh, was that it?
That was it.
Oh, 60%. That's
6
a
out of
first-class
10.
honours degree.
It's not,
Thank
actually.
you. And by the way...
excuse me, where did you get the idea that 6 out of 10 is a first-class degree?
And by the way...
Excuse me, I'll just answer the question.
Yeah, well, it's
6
well
out
known.
of 10 is 60%. No.
Yeah, it's well known.
A first-class degree has to be 70% and above.
Rubbish.
Yes, it does.
That
is very, very average.
Well, it'd be a 2-1. And by the way,
2-2,
I would have got asphyxia. if you'd have asked the question properly. You said geographically.
Asphyxia.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That was the Bible from which he drew his
Apocrypha.
Apocrypha. That's the one.
So
that's the one.
asphyxia is something else.
Apocrypha. I would have
That's
got
something very, very different.
God, I'm so proud of myself.
6 out of 10 is pretty good.
Fantastic.
Pretty good, but not your all-time record score. It's just evened with the chocolate quiz.
Well, it doesn't matter, mate.
Anyway, I've got my suspicions because there were a couple of copies of this going around
Not
before
at
the
all.
show started.
Not at all.
But well done. That was the Porky Quiz. More coming up on Talk Radio. This is Talk Radio. We are the two mics. Sam Delaney coming up in a little while, of course, with the Drive Time Show. Now, I don't know whether you've seen this, but
by the way, pouring in
What?
the messages of congratulations for the
go
quiz.
on. I mean, I mean, if there ever was a man needing more kind of support and succour from his adoring fans, as you like to call them, I mean, it's pathetic. It's pathetic.
It's not.
It is. I mean, like a child. I mean, why does it matter to you how many you get out of 10?
Jane sends one. Great show on the quiz. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
She actually says great week of entertainment on talkRADIO.
So she's not actually. You're now making up tweets.
Well, no.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, here. Dean says drug test required for El Blanco. No way.
It's true.
No way could a Germany and Porky get 6 out of 10.
Like I say, the only 2 times that you've ever got 6 out of 10. Once you did it on a quiz that I'm fairly certain you were cheating on because you were able to see a snatched look at the questions. But also the other one was the chocolate quiz, and that was because 3 of the questions where you had to identify a certain chocolate bar by tasting it.
And I did brilliantly.
Because you love chocolate.
And Brian here says, woo, 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 you got it right, Porky, well done. Nigel says, thinking out loud, you were magnificent. Danny says, decent score this week, Porky, solid 60%, keep it up. Oh, they're just pouring in.
Yeah, well, when you say pouring in, I'm not quite sure
Tom
about that.
says, what a performance from old Porky. No plank for the plank. I like that, well done.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Congrats, Porky, for a correct answer in the gerrymandered actor, film, director, writer category. But that's from Clapmute. Well, why would you complain about a quiz that was supposedly gerrymandered if you got the question right? I noticed that when there is a question about a film and he gets it right, he doesn't complain. Now, more importantly, and I want you to pay attention here.
Okay.
Lola, who you gave congratulations to, or good wishes. The little girl has had her tonsils out.
Yes.
She's drawn you a picture.
Oh, that's lovely.
And said thank you to the 2 mics.
Oh, how lovely.
And there it is there, and I've tweeted it. So
that's excellent.
Isn't that lovely?
That's lovely. Lola, thank you very much indeed, my dear, and I do hope you get a very speedy recovery.
Yeah.
And
Simon says
you will grow up big and strong and beautiful like your mother.
Yeah. Simon says you're definitely cheating, making out you don't know the answer, and then all of a sudden gets it.
Well,
hashtag
just
cheat.
inspiration, mate. That's all
and
it
the
is.
Percentage Game says definitely cheating by the bearded weirdo. He doesn't know that much information about himself, which is possibly true, actually.
I don't think it's true at all. Oh well, that's good. It makes you feel good when that sort of thing happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Makes you feel like life is worthwhile. Now, we remarkably will not be on the airwaves for a couple of days.
Remarkably, yes. Well,
and
when
then
you say
what
a couple
happens?
of days, we would normally be here on TalkSport on Saturday, but there is a live football match, which is Chelsea-Leicester, so we're going to be instead available for consultation on Sunday afternoon.
Exactly.
From 1 till 4, I believe.
Okay. And what are you going to be doing between now and then?
Well, do you know, there's a big weekend coming up for me.
Right, go on.
And in fact, my son's school, I can proudly report, were on the BBC local news last night because they've done a remarkable thing. His primary school have built a replica of the Bayeux Tapestry.
Yes.
Which, of course, is famously in...
what is it?
The Bayeux Tapestry.
It's in Bayeux.
Yes, not Bordeaux.
Not Bordeaux,
which
as
he
I thought
once
it was,
famously said.
That's right.
So they've made a replica of the Bayeux Tapestry in balloon form.
Oh, really?
It's brilliant. I mean, if you
balloon form,
it's
so
been
it's circular.
It's been made but it's been made out of balloons. They've actually recreated the Bayeux Tapestry out of balloons. They've imported.
Is it a very big?
It's quite
production.
big. Yeah, it's quite big.
Go across the wall and all that kind of stuff.
The whole inside of the school kind of auditorium has been made into a replica of Battle Abbey in balloons.
Very good.
I'll show it to you after the show.
It sounds
absolutely brilliant.
Sounds great.
And they've imported a load of balloon artists from places as far away.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
I didn't either.
Balloon artists. I suppose what the balloon artists are, the guys who come along to your party, blow the balloons very long, and then squeeze them all up into shapes of dogs and
those
things.
are magicians. But I mean, similar to
they're
that.
balloon artists.
But similar to that.
They must be.
So what they've done is they've recreated the whole Bayeux Tapestry and all of that. So and they had it on the news. He was actually filmed by the BBC crew.
Who?
My son.
Did you see him on telly?
No, because he didn't make it. They edited him out. He hit the cutting room floor. He's gutted.
Right.
I've got to go in tomorrow.
Yeah.
So tomorrow morning.
It happens.
Tomorrow morning, I'm going to have to talk him through the whole process of sometimes.
Yeah, the shock factor.
You just don't make the cut.
You don't make the cut,
which is terribly sad. But the reason for that, right, is it's the 950th anniversary of the Battle of Hastings.
Oh, I see.
So there's a massive march and parade going on Friday.
Excellent.
And then on Saturday, the day itself, I shall be in attendance at the battleground, where there will be a reenactment.
Sounds good.
I'm not taking part in the reenactment,
right?
Because I'll just be watching. But I saw it a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
and it's very realistic.
That's great
because they have a load of Normans walking up the hill to a crowd of
all dressed as Normans,
all dressed as Normans, and at the end.
Pointy hats on and all that kind of
got
stuff.
all that, and at the end, the dead are left lying on the field. I mean, it's quite evocative, actually. You see where Alfred may have fallen.
I think children should be in touch with mortality.
Yes, absolutely right.
You know what I mean?
The reason I like to go is because they have a couple of stalls there as well, where you can have a beer. You can have a wild boar burger.
I thought you might have a less noble reason.
So I'm hoping that it's quite it's sort of nice weather.
That'll be great.
Good, because we wouldn't want it to be raining or anything like that.
You wouldn't indeed, no.
On it. So I'm going to be quite busy.
Excellent.
Friday and Saturday.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
I've also got to go and get my other son's bike out of the bike shop.
Why? What's wrong with it?
It was being serviced. You service bikes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, I had a bike for years. I never needed it serviced.
Yeah, well, it's better to get it serviced.
No, I'm sure.
And also, it's not. We bought it about 2 months ago, and I always recommend you bring it back for little adjustments.
Oh, that's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tighten up the
So I've
nuts.
done a bit of that.
Yeah, good.
Tighten up the nuts.
Yeah, good.
And this afternoon I shall be busy, as you know, with you and some sort of clients and business people.
Indeed.
Carousing.
Good friends of ours.
Yeah.
Who've flown in to talk to us this afternoon about all sorts of exciting possibilities. That is great.
Exactly. And also what I'll be doing as well, if I can, is
Yeah.
advancing closer and closer to the release date of our live podcast from Edinburgh.
Yes.
Which should be available soon.
Yes.
Very soon. We're literally just waiting for the word.
Yes.
It could be the next couple of days.
Yeah.
And our video, which is almost nearly finished editing process.
Indeed.
And will soon be being manufactured.
I hope so, and then available for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously you'd like to know what I'm doing this weekend.
I don't really care.
Well,
what you're
our
up to.
millions of listeners do.
No, I don't think so.
I should be down in the penthouse on the coast.
Oh, well, you go to Gosport?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I've had a day and a half there. But what I would be very interested to note is how many Royal Navy warships will be in what was once the biggest naval port in the world.
Well, why would there be any there?
Well, that's a very good question, because last time I went, which was about 2 weeks ago, there wasn't a single Royal Navy ship berthed in Portsmouth Harbour.
Yeah, right.
Which I think is a disgrace.
The last time you were there not like 4 things that were being decommissioned sort of parked there?
No, that was the time before. That was a time before.
Yeah.
And the big battle now is, and sort of, very high-ranking officers in the Royal Navy, Rear Admirals and this kind of stuff, are now starting a campaign to try and save HMS Illustrious from the scrapyard.
Yeah.
Now, although my heart is with them, it never works.
No.
It just never works. The thing is, Illustrious is a very old ship. I think it's the last ship that was involved in the Falklands campaign.
Is it that old?
I think so.
So technologically, even, there's no point in having it, really.
There's no point in having it as a fighting vessel anymore,
No.
and it was only ever kept on until the new carriers arrived. And then David Cameron, in his extreme stupidity, in my view, went and decommissioned the Ark Royal, which was a more modern
But again,
ship.
he would have done that on the advice of the the naval chiefs, wouldn't he?
No, he didn't. The naval chiefs asked him not to do it.
Oh, did they?
And he decided, no, I'm doing it. No, I know better, and thought he knew better, and he didn't know better. So,
well, look what happened to him.
yeah, exactly. It'll be very interesting to see whether or not, Portsmouth is buzzing with Royal Navy hardware. I accept that Royal Navy ships these days, a modern Royal Navy warship, can do the work of 3 old Navy warships.
Yes.
But we still need a lot more warships than we've got.
Well, maybe you could give us some pictures when you're down there.
Yeah, maybe.
And we can see what's going on. One final tweet. Danny says, Porky just read out my tweet, but he forgot to read out the end part.
Oh, yeah? What was it?
And he also made up the bit, keep up the good work, which he never said.
No, I always put
Now,
that in.
if you're going to read tweets out, you've got to read them out in their entirety.
Well, I know what people want to
What
say.
he actually said was, a decent score this week, solid 60%, but you're still a plank. A first, by the way, 70% or higher, as I said.
Yeah. Well, I repeat it then.
There you go. Mr. Day, there. Mr. Sam Delaney is here.
Hello.
I almost couldn't say your name there. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I
you slurred it out, but that's fine.
I jumped the gun. So, what's coming up?
So, have you two been talking about this situation with Tesco?
A little bit.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem overly bothered by it because he
Not
doesn't
really.
eat Marmite really.
Marmite.
Which is what it's become.
Hellman's mayonnaise,
Hellman's
PG
mayonnaise.
tips, which I would say are in my top
Yeah, but I mean,
3.
is it not?
Well,
Tea bag.
I love Yorkshire tea.
Yorkshire tea, to my mind, is the best,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in
is
the
it- but
absence
is
of
this
that,
not-
I'd go for a PG.
But is this not yet another kind of scaremongering tale? Because I mean, they'll probably all this stuff will be back in the shop soon. There'll be places you can buy Marmite and mayonnaise.
Unilever creating the scare.
Yeah.
They're exploiting the situation, but
I mean, I've got mayonnaise.
they've got a situation that they're able to exploit, and other
Right.
people might do it. Stockpile mayonnaise is probably the best.
Well, the thing is,
idea.
I will not run out of the mayonnaise I've got for at least a month, maybe longer.
Well, so you're hopeful that in
Well,
a
I'm
month's
saying-
time this trade dispute will
I'm
be
not,
over.
I'm not panicking. Yeah, or I'll just have to
There's
make
plenty
my
of
own.
alternative food
I think
around.
you make your own mayonnaise anyway.
Plenty of alternative food. If you've ever been in Russia pre to the wall coming
I
down
haven't,
Yeah.
no.
and walked round a supermarket in Moscow,
Yeah.
you would know that our supermarkets are actually pretty well stocked.
I went
Yeah.
in about 1989
Yeah.
on, believe it or not, a school trip
Oh, right. Yeah,
to
good.
the Soviet Union.
It was great, wasn't it?
it was very interesting.
It was brilliant
because there was no branded stuff there whatsoever, was
exactly,
there?
No.
I mean, people were trying to sell us moody bottles of Pepsi Cola on the black market because you couldn't even drink water.
What did you bring back?
There was a weird interesting story. So one of my mates who was on the trip with me, his mum was a mad Beatles fan, and she told us she collected records that the record that Paul McCartney had released exclusively in Russia, which he'd done.
Yeah.
She said, if you can pick up some of those, they're changing hands over here amongst Beatles fanatics and McCartney fanatics for thousands.
Right.
So we made some contacts because people approach you and they'd say, look, we're only 14 and we bought a ton of them. We spent all the money we had on them.
Right.
And we were on the plane back thinking to ourselves, that's it. I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy my mum a car.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a house. I thought I was a millionaire.
Right.
We got back. I went to Spinning Disc, the record shop at the end of my road. He offered me £1 per record. The market had been flooded because that's the market economy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Totally
and
agree.
There was an irony in that.
There is.
An irony in that.
I was gutted about that. A lot of them are still at my mum's house. Maybe they've gone up in value now. I don't know.
Maybe they have.
You might like one of those.
Sorry?
You might like one of those.
Yeah, I might like one of those. Give you a
Bigger
pound for one of
Beatles
those.
fanatic.
Yeah, I'll bring
Give
it
him
in.
a
You
pound.
can have a look over it.
Very
Yeah,
nice, thank
okay.
Marvellous. Sam the Ladies coming up next right here on Talk Radio.
Talk Radio.